Last month, the New York Yankees came to the Coliseum, and the Athletics did not disappoint. Bob Melvin and the boys took 3 of 4 from the Pinstripes as they played a very solid series. Tonight, the scene shifts to the Bronx as they open up a 3-game set at Yankee Stadium. The Yankees are sitting in first place in the competitive AL East. Their offense is once again dangerous, and it's always a tough series at the stadium. Coming up next, it's Game 1, A's, Yankees. Six-game road trip starts tonight for the Athletics in New York. We are in the Bronx at Yankee Stadium. All-star Stephen Vogt and all-star Sonny Gray. That's your A's battery mate tonight as the A's look to have a good series and then finish the first half in Cleveland. It's the Oakland A's and the New York Yankees coming up here on Comcast Sportsnet, California. Hi again, everybody. Welcome to Oakland A's baseball, along with Ray Fosse. I'm Glenn Kuiper. Sonny Gray takes the mound tonight against a pretty good offense of the New York Yankees. It's been a while for Sonny Gray, 11 days off.
I don't think you could pitch any place better than Yankee Stadium. I think that's why Sonny Gray wanted to come back. He's a deserving all-star with a 2.09 earned run average, best in the American League. He beat the Yankees at the Coliseum. This is his first time on this big mound. This is the big stage. We know what these Yankee fans can do. We know what this team can do, especially the left-handed hitters. Sonny Gray has a number of pitches that he can throw to anybody. The curveball, the slider, the cutter, the regular fastball, changeup. He has everything, and he knows how to pitch, especially in a place like this.
And he's going to be looking for his 10th win of the year. He'd like to take 10, 11 wins into the All-Star break next Tuesday. So Sonny Gray and Stephen Vogt are your A's All-Stars this year. Congratulations to both those very deserving players. They will do the A's proud in Cincinnati. We'll have lineups at first pitch. Game 1 coming up.
Brought to you by Jack in the Box. Taste the new black pepper cheeseburger today, only at Jack in the Box. And by Toyota, the full-line automaker with the longest-lasting vehicles in America. Toyota, let's go places.
Yankee Stadium, the new Yankee Stadium, first of three, the A's and the Yankees, on a very warm, humid night. It rained some before the game, enough that the tarp actually was put on the field. The A's did not take batting practice as it started to rain right around their time to take batting practice, but now the clouds are gone and it's a beautiful night for baseball. The game time weather is presented by the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk. Get to the beach. The admission-free boardwalk is now open daily. So 83 degrees, warm and humid. You see the clouds pretty much gone, and a little threat of rain tomorrow as well, but that's all right. We're not going to worry about that tonight. Let's look at the lineup for the Oakland A's. It starts with Billy Burns in center. The All-Star Stephen Vogt will do the catching. Ben Zobrist in left, Josh Reddick in right. Billy Butler's the DH. Ike Davis hits sixth, then Brett Lawrie seventh, Sogard eighth, and Simeon ninth.
And it will be Nathan Eovaldi. Nate Eovaldi, whatever. His name is Nate or Nathan, but he's pretty good, especially lately. He's been pitching well. The only game the Yankees won in Oakland was the game that he started, but he did not get the decision. But he's a good fastball pitcher, upper 90s with the fastball, and an assortment of other pitches to go along with it. Curve, slider, also throws a split finger fastball. But one of the newer acquisitions and a starting rotation, Cap, that has a little changed considerably since we last saw the Yankees. The only time in Oakland, some guys who've been on the disabled list back healthy again, or at least in the rotation, and some guys who are in the rotation are in the bullpen, and guys in the bullpen are gone. So a lot of changes made by the Yankees, but as you said, they're in first place in the Eastern Division.
The defense for the Yankees, it has former A. Chris Young in left field, Brett Gardner's in center, Garrett Jones in right, Headley, Gregorius, Drew, and Teixeira on the infield, and Brian McCann is the catcher. No, indeed, the Yankees come in 44-38, a game-and-a-half lead over Baltimore in that very tight AL East. So Yankees playing pretty good baseball. A's come in 38-47 as they are 11 games back of the first place Astros. Joe Girardi already in his 8th season, won it all in 2009. But for the Yankees, they have missed the playoffs the last 2 years, and that does not sit well here in New York. So Eovaldi kicks, and the first pitch of the game is a curveball that's up and away.
And how about that first pitch? They know the scattered points as he swings a lot of first pitches, playing in very shallow infield, outfield, and first ball, curveball, and see what he does on the second.
Okay, so that's what we're gonna watch for, Ray, in this road trip. What do they do with Burns on the first pitch? Roll call going on.
Chris Young. And he's acknowledging.
Swing and miss on a fastball.
Talked to Mike Gallego, the A's third base coach. He played here in the early 90s. I said, did they have a roll call when you played here? He said, nope. He said, but they have it now, and the players, amazing how they acknowledge it. And they better acknowledge it.
You better, yeah.
Because the fans they will keep calling your name until you do acknowledge it.
So 2-2 the count. Burns leading things off here. Those great Yankee fans out in right field. That's where the roll call comes from.
They must have stopped when they got to Eovaldi.
That one lined right into the glove of Headley for the first out. Burns just kind of poked at it and hit it hard, but Headley was there.
Well, his style of hitting, and he's been pretty consistent, and we will, before this road trip is over, see some of those that he just hit end up down the left field line. Happened to be about that Headley. Young was playing him shallow, but the way it was slicing gets down in the corner, and that's extra bases. And he's got his brother Bobby up from the Georgia, Atlanta area, and he said his mother lives in New Jersey or grew up in New Jersey. So he's got family and friends watching him this series here. Big stadium in the Bronx.
Here's Stephen Vogt, 290 13 home runs, 53 RBIs for Vogt.
Congratulations to all those who did vote for Stephen Vogt. The player's choice, which not surprising that his peers would name him on many of the ballots. I think it was the players, although he was selected as a reserve, but I think they have a player's vote, and he was the top catcher listed on all the players' votes, which is not surprising.
And he lines one to center field for a base hit. So Vogt singles. So it was fun, Ray. Saw Stephen Vogt today, and I congratulated him. I said, hey, congratulations. I said, you had to have a pretty good feeling that you were going to be an all-star. He said, you know what? He said, all the stuff I've been through in my career, he said, I never wanted to sit there and go, you know what? I think I am going to make the all-star team. He said, I just could not look at it like that.
And that's a great way to do it. And even Sonny Gray kind of said you anticipate, you hear everybody talking about it, and for both of them, very deserving. I mean, they are the battery tonight. Stephen Vogt already with the catching gear on, warming up. Sonny Gray is already enjoying this humidity, or at least humidity showing on his uniform.
Yeah, he's got a good lather going already to Stephen Vogt. It is humid.
and that's, you put the full gear on to warm up Sonny Gray so you can see kind of the outline of the chest protector. And yes, it is that type of evening. It did rain, as Kipe said, and Kipe have been back to New York and Cleveland. We've been there, and I know many times you'll see the Yankees or the Indians, where we're going next, take their batting practices, and as soon as they finish, here comes the tarp. It's going to start raining. No BP for the visitors, so the A's didn't hit on the field, but it did pour hard, but it stopped, and it's a beautiful evening right now, although a little bit humid. But it is the place to play, Yankee Stadium. It is large, 399 left center, 385 right center. And if you're a smart pitcher, that's the way you will pitch and let the hitters try to hit them out there, left center and right center, not down the lines, especially in right field.
267 for Zobrist with 5 home runs, 31 RBIs. Reddick to follow. Just underway. Nate Eovaldi facing the Athletics. Quick throw to first. This ballpark is in its 7th year already. It was such a big deal when they decided that it was time for a new Yankee Stadium.
As we pan around and look at the crowd, it might be the smallest I've ever seen.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. So it opened in 2009. The dimensions short down the lines, as Ray said, deep in the alleys, deep in center field. So if you pull the ball down either line, you get a pretty good chance, especially in right field. It's
definitely in right field.
I mean, the 385 right field alley, I mean, that's deep right center. I think maybe, let's say, straightaway right field. The straightaway right field may be the shortest straightaway right field in baseball, wouldn't you think?
I agree 100%.
And when I say straightaway, just kind of where the right fielder's playing and just go back to the wall. It's really not very far.
You go to the back from the right fielder over to the foul line, and that distance you can see there from that signage behind the right fielder over to the wall. I mean, that is extremely short. And they've made this stadium like the old Yankee Stadium, short down the right field line, and that's why you look at their lineups, you're going to see a lot of left-handed hitters.
Sure.
I always think about the great Joe DiMaggio, the great hitter that he was, and he played at Yankee Stadium his home games. Same dimensions in left center and right center. So you think about how many home runs, like Willie Mays at Candlestick, how many they lost because of their home parks. But there's a 314 down the right field line, and hitters who play for the Yankees are basically taught as left-handers to pull it that way.
2-2 to Zobrist. That one tapped slowly right side. Drew charges. He'll go to first. Just got him. So a very close play. Looks like Stephen Drew, I don't know, maybe a little mix up. He kind of ran past Stephen Vogt.
Well, I think he felt right here he's going to be able to tag Vogt, reaching back and maybe thinking about going to second. He almost hesitated too long. And maybe once he saw Vogt hesitate, stutter step to try to go around him, then maybe that was going to slow him down enough that he could not make it to second. Instead, decided to go to first, and that's how close it was to get the hustling Ben Zobrist.
So 2 outs now and a runner in scoring position for Reddick. Reddick hitting .288, 11 home runs, 49 RBIs. And the first pitch off speed in for a strike. Remember, RBIs with 2 outs is something that Reddick has been terrific at this season. He has 32 RBIs with 2 outs. That's the most in the majors. That's one of those stats that you may not hear a lot about, but that's a good one.
Yeah.
Fastball at 97, but just a little bit off the plate. Not just most in the American League, but most in all of baseball.
And while they are employing a shift, shortstop Gregorius is not really behind second. The whole left side of the infield not open as much, and Spray Chart's probably trying to show and showing some of the base hits up the middle.
Gregorius can't get it, and Reddick's going to have another one. Here comes Vogt. He will score, and the A's lead 1-0. Just a big chopper right over the mound, and it got into center field. So Reddick gets his 50th RBI.
And you know, it's amazing, just explaining the shift. We have seen a lot of the second baseman or shortstop over second base. This would have been handled, but because he is hitting more to left field, that side is opened up and gives him the opportunity to get a true base hit up the middle, unlike so many, and especially the guy coming to the plate now who has hit balls up the middle that have been caught. But Reddick found a way to get it through the infield. And I think Josh Reddick maybe in the next 6 games starting tonight try to put up as many numbers as he can, because we know that he's upset that he's not on the All-Star team. He felt that he'd put up numbers, and he knows numbers as well as anybody, but it is Stephen Vogt deserving as well as Sonny Gray.
First pitch to Butler in first strike. Most defensive shifts this season. Yankees with the 4th most. Butler tries to hold up. He could not, as they check with John Hirschbeck.
The strike machine, John Hirschbeck, behind the plate or on the bases.
So Butler behind in the count 0-2. The A's with an early run here at Yankee Stadium. Vogt with the 1-out hit, and Reddick with the 2-out RBI single. Butler does check his swing this time to even the count at 2-2. Butler right at 250 with 6 home runs and 36 RBIs. He's hitless in his last 13 at bats. So he will try to have a good road trip leading up to the All-Star break. Tap that one foul. So 23 pitches here in the first inning for Nathan Eovaldi.
Jesse Hahn started the game against Eovaldi, the Yankees in Oakland. Sonny Gray also pitched. It's a 4-game series, so you're figuring everybody but one's going to be starting for both teams. A's did win 3 of the 4, as I mentioned. Only the Eovaldi game did the Yankees win.
On the ground toward Headley, the third baseman, who scoops it up. Side retired. A run on 2 hits for the A's, so Sonny Gray has an early lead thanks to Reddick's RBI single. 1-0 Athletics. bottom of the first. Here's the New York Yankees starting lineup tonight. Brett Gardner having a very fine season. He'll lead things off in center field. Headley is at third. Alex Rodriguez, the DH. All-star Mark Teixeira is in the cleanup spot. Brian McCann, Garrett Jones, Chris Young, Didi Gregorius, and Stephen Drew round out the Yankees lineup.
Sonny Gray's last start June the 25th against the Rangers in Arlington. Very hot and humid as it is tonight. But Sonny Gray, the illness inside, put him on the sidelines for a couple of starts, but making the start tonight. First time in New York, and he did defeat them. Gave up a home run to Brian McCann. Gave up 2 runs in 8 innings. Pitched well in Oakland and got the win. Even though McCann, really, I think McCann has hit just 3 home runs on the road. One of those against Sonny Gray.
He was hot when we saw
yes, he was.
McCann. So here is Gardner, 297, 9 home runs, 39 RBIs for Brett Gardner. So doing a nice job at the top of the Yankees lineup. Good on base percentage of .373. Pretty good slugging percentage for a guy who's not necessarily a power hitter, but hits that one hard into right center field, and that's a hit. So Gardner with a leadoff single, and he's a base stealing threat. Defensively for the A's, Zobrist, Burns, Reddick in the outfield. Flory, Simeon, Sogard, and Davis on the infield with Stephen Vogt behind the dish. So Stephen Vogt will have an early challenge with Gardner aboard. Gardner's got 15 stolen bases in 18 attempts. He's a very good base stealer. And the first pitch to Chase Headley is low. Yankees have won 3 out of their last 4. They're 23-15 at home, so they've been a good home team. Score a lot of runs here in their home ballpark. And that 44-38 record overall is tied for 3rd best record in the American League. So 21-23 on the road, 23-15 at home.
And that last pitch would have been a good one to get. If you can't get the pitch on the outside corner just a little bit off, it makes it tough for a right-handed pitcher to pitch to left-handed hitters.
Missed again, and now it's 3-0. Royals with the best record in the American League. The Astros second. And then the Yankees and the Angels tied for the 3rd best record. And that one just missed outside, and it's a 4-pitch walk. So quickly, Sonny Gray is in trouble. So a lot of talk with Sonny Gray last pitching on June 25th. That's 11 days ago. So with his regular 4 days rest, very good ERA, in fact terrific ERA, 5 or more, still good numbers. But he seems to be one of those guys who really likes the 4 days rest.
Yeah.
Stay on schedule. James Hoy is calling balls and strikes with John Hirschbeck down at first as the crew chief. So here's Alex Rodriguez. So early trouble for Gray. First pitch to Rodriguez in the dirt.
Alex threw up his hands like he'd called timeout.
Yeah, he seemed a little upset about something. I'm not sure exactly what it was. It didn't seem like a quick pitch or anything like that from Sonny Gray.
And the pitch was hit on the plate, not even close to being a strike. And he threw up his arms, and they're shading him to pull the ball with Sogard very close to second base. But he's an opposite field hitter as well.
Overall, Rodriguez 12 doubles, a triple, 16 home runs. Leads the team in walks, very high on base percentage. So tough start here for Sonny Gray. Mark Teixeira is the on deck hitter. Missed again. So now it's 3-0.
Well, last year it was 10 days in late June in which they skipped a start. And that's when he pitched against the Marlins down in Miami. It did not fare well then. 6-18 was the start against Texas, the June 18th, the 28th against the Marlins.
3-0 pitch in there, 93 miles an hour, so 3-1.
In that game, the A's gave him a 4-run first inning. Ended up going 14. He only went 5. More down the bullpen, but that was too much rest. Of course, that was planned. This had not been planned, as we discussed.
And that one's hit high in the air, shallow center. Burns comes in. Gardner's thinking about tagging, although it's not very deep, and he bluffs, but he'll stay at second. So 3-1, and Sonny Gray gets Alex Rodriguez to hit a fly ball to center field.
You know, one thing Sonny Gray does so well, and he just did it to Alex Rodriguez, he got a little bit extra on it. Maybe he held a little reserve that when he threw the 3-1, knowing he had to throw a strike, that Alex Rodriguez, while he had a good swing, the ball was running in a little bit, and he got under the ball. And he looked to the dugout knowing he had missed one. But that's what happens at times when, instead of messing around trying to throw off-speed pitches, you challenge somebody. He did, and got a pop-up.
So here is Teixeira. Teixeira, 243, 20 homers, and 59 RBIs. Having a very fine season. Good enough to get him to the All-Star game. 2 Yankee All-Stars, Teixeira and Dylan Betances, the big hard-throwing right-handed reliever. So that is who will represent the Yankees in Cincinnati a week from tonight. At 59 RBIs, leads the American League. Teixeira's first. J.D. Martinez is second in RBIs. Donaldson and Batista, teammates, tied for third. Oh, how about J.D. Martinez?
How about that?
When we saw him, he was struggling a little bit, but now he's just on fire.
And with Miguel Cabrera out for at least 6 weeks, they better get high.
Yep. Good curve, and it's 1-2.
But you notice tonight, Sonny Gray all fastballs until Teixeira first pitch curveball for a strike. So from Gardner to Headley to Rodriguez, fastballs, several missed. Now the curveball that could get him back in the groove, thrown very hard. Has yet to throw the hard slider, which acts like a splitter. It's the second sign it's going to be the hard slider. That was a 3.
And a good one. Teixeira swings and misses. So 2 outs here in the first.
See that? That's the slider. Okay, and that, watch this ball go down, and you think, hey, he throws a split. He doesn't. This is a slider. He throws it hard and kind of straight down. Talking to John Sterling, and he's asking about Sonny Gray, and I said, "Would you see what looks like a splitter? It's not." And I said, "You remember Guzman with Toronto?" He says, "Yeah, for 2 years I called it a splitter." I said, "It never was. It's always been a slider." And that's what Sonny Gray has developed. And when you can make a pitch like that, and all of a sudden just one fastball to Teixeira, curveball and slider to get the big strikeout.
So here's McCann. So a little bit more on the slider. Interesting, the vertical location in the zone. And look at 2015. So it's just a better pitch for him, and it's located better.
Absolutely.
It's just down in the zone, and where else would you want a breaking ball?
And the thing is, as he just showed with Teixeira, he's able to throw it hard. And when you throw it hard like that, a hitter never can adjust. Slower curveball, they can adjust. Not with that pitch, though.
A little broken bat. It's going to drop for a hit. And Gardner's going to come around and score, and the Yankees tie it up. 1-1 here in the bottom of the first. So that's always a little frustrating. A 2-out hit, and it's a broken bat 2-out hit.
Well, I hate to say it, but he did the exact same thing back on May the 29th. Ball that he lofted into left field. Yankees scored a run on a 2-out hit by McCann. He did a home run later, and that's it. But McCann, you could hear the bat break. They had played him to pull the ball, which was the right thing to do. And he just broke his bat. And McCann looking back at Ike Davis with that look about he's tough, and yes, he is.
Here's Garrett Jones, fastball a little bit low. Yankees are down a couple outfielders. They're down Carlos Beltran, who's on the DL with an oblique strain, and they're down Jacoby Ellsbury, who's been out for quite a while with the right knee sprain. So Garrett Jones getting some more at bats, but it sounds like, and this is not necessarily great news for the A's, but it sounds like Ellsbury's going to be back tomorrow.
Yeah.
So we will see. Really, Jacoby Ellsbury, terrific player. And he's been out for what, 7 weeks almost with that knee injury, but probably see him tomorrow in the lineup for the Yanks.
And Andrew Miller, the closer, is in a rehab assignment tonight. Could be back as early as tomorrow. And with a closer, a reliever, they don't have to stretch out the arm like a starter does, so they can make a rehab appearance or two and be able to come back.
Yeah, that is what is being reported around Yankee Stadium today, is that both Miller and Ellsbury will be back tomorrow. There's a shot off the glove of Davis into right field. Here comes Headley. The throw to the plate is late. Headley scores. Garrett Jones with the 2-out RBI hit, and the Yankees lead 2-1.
Well, isn't it amazing? He was a broken base hit away from getting out of the inning, and now another 2-out hit, back-to-back 2-out hits, and now he's got to get Chris Young. Josh Reddick, a strong throw, not enough time, and that's the 2 outs that a runner is able to make on contact. Headley, I don't think, thought there was going to be a play. Sped up a little bit more once he rounded the bag.
So 3 hits and a walk and 2 runs for the Yankees here in the first, and that'll bring up Chris Young. Chris Young hitting .250 with 10 home runs and 25 RBIs. The Yankees have been a good offensive team this year. They are 3rd in the American League in total run score. So they're a dangerous team. They did a pretty good job shutting them down in Oakland during that 4-game series. But from what we understand, they're a much better team offensively here at home than they are on the road. See if that works out in this 3-game set. It's a good veteran lineup. To a pitch foul back. They've hit 107 home runs. That's 3rd most in the American League. Astros lead the league in home runs. The Blue Jays are 2nd. And the Yankees 3rd. They're 4th in the league in slugging, 3rd in the league in on-base percentage. So 2-2 now to Chris Young. So 24 pitches in the first inning on a hot, humid night. It's always sunny in Smyrna, Tennessee. Awesome. Got to be a little bit of a drive, huh? Tennessee.
I would think so.
Put it this way, they didn't leave at noon today. Maybe noon yesterday.
Maybe they were checking the weather forecast just to see.
Sonny lives in Nashville now, right?
Yeah. Good block again by Stephen Vogt. There's the hard slider that Chris Young would not offer at it. Steve Vucinich probably will have several sets of catching gear and uniforms for Stephen Vogt tonight.
Runners go, and the ball is popped up toward Ike Davis. And Davis grabs it side retired. Couple of runs for the Yankees, so we've played 1 at Yankee Stadium. It's New York 2 and the A's 1. fan photo. Use hashtag West Data Strong Fan. Make sure that's the one you use. And we just might see you in one of our upcoming broadcasts. It's all brought to you by T-Mobile. It's a young A's fan enjoying the ball game tonight. I don't know. I remember those as a kid. So Ike Davis to lead it off. Davis, Laurie, and Sogard. First pitch is a fastball moving away.
James Hoyle does not like the outside fastball to left-handed hitters, and that's dangerous for pitchers because you have to start getting more of the plate. That can be serious danger. But if they're off the plate, he's not calling them. Ideally, if as a pitcher you can get that corner.
If there was a ballpark where you would desperately want to get the outside corner called a strike to left-handed hitters, this would be it.
And that's why both Eovaldi and Sonny are staying out there, because you definitely don't want to make a mistake inside. And you see a catcher start to creep a little bit more towards the middle of the plate because they're not getting the calls, or there's too much movement on a fastball. That's real dangerous.
So 3-1 to Davis. Huge run support for Eovaldi this year, second highest in the American League, over 7 runs per game, and thus he's got an 8-2 record, but a pretty high ERA. But it's interesting. So that's this year. Last year he had the lowest run support in the majors when he was with the Marlins.
That's why he's happy to come to the Yankees.
He has literally seen it all. There's that fastball away, and it's a leadoff walk.
And that's what hitters have to do. A's left-handed hitters, of course, Laurie, the right-hander, coming up. But with the running two-seam fastball off the plate outside, I mean, that's, you want to be able to pick up the spin or have an idea that they're going to pitch out there and let the ball go. Or hit it sharply to left field.
So here is Laurie. Let's get the call there. Last year, Eovaldi had a 4.37 ERA, which is slightly better than his ERA this year. But without any run support, he was 6-14. This year, all the run support, he's 8-2. And again, the ERA pretty close to being the same. A very hard thrower, 98 miles an hour.
So it's Ike Davis on 3-0-3-1. He threw 96 back-to-back. Then he went to the two-seamer, which reduces the velocity, and you're hoping that a hitter will swing. Ike Davis did not. That's why he stands at first.
Laurie went around 1-2. Well, when he pitched against the A's in Oakland, and the A's had 11 hits off him in 4 2/3 innings, you and I talked a couple times about how he was throwing a lot of breaking balls. Remember, he just kept throwing them, and he was getting knocked around.
He actually got 3 of those hits in the first inning. A's did not score.
And I guess our point was, is we were a little surprised that, listen, you can't throw a fastball every pitch, but he has 96, 97, 98. We were surprised at all the breaking balls he's throwing. It looks like tonight he's throwing more fastball.
And trying to locate to the outside part of the plate, which he did to Laurie outside. That is either a split, probably a split that he throws for his changeup.
And that was a good pitch, and Laurie strikes out for the first out here in the second inning.
Well, a pitcher has a changeup, or in the case of Eovaldi, he throws a splitter. Watch this ball go in and go down right there. And that's a good split finger fastball. It's more of a chase pitch out of the strike zone. If he lets it go, probably would have been a ball. Very difficult to hold up your swing.
So that'll bring up Sogard. Sogard 256 with 20 RBIs, pops this one 5. Eovaldi had one of those starts that you see it once in a while where you just can't get anybody out. His velocity second highest in all of baseball with his fastball, 96.1. That's average velocity. But 4 starts ago, he gave up 8 earned runs in 2/3 of an inning against his old team, the Marlins. Wow. That's one of those where it's going to take you a month or 6-7 starts to get your ERA back.
And be happy you're a starter that you can pitch every 5th day instead of a reliever. It may take him all year.
But 8 earned runs.
That's a lot.
And he got 2 outs.
Good pitchers usually, that's a rarity that happens. So Garrett Richards did it against the A's, which that's rare.
Felix Hernandez had that happen to him this year.
Yeah, Houston got him.
It's hard to explain, but it does happen occasionally.
See if Eric Sogard, of course, Sabathia pitches tomorrow. He might not be playing. But see if he can hit his first home run of the season here.
It has been a while.
Yeah.
In fact, it's in the notes. And when a home run streak or lack of home runs is in the notes, that's never good.
Yeah, that's his ugly start and starts, but
that is exactly right. Those are the 3 starts since that debacle in Miami. Evaldi has it. He spins out at second, and that's a double play. 1-6-3 double play ends the top of the second. We're going to the bottom of the second. It'll be Gregorius, Drew, and Gardner. 2-1 Yankees. At the NHRA Sonoma Nationals, July 31st through August 2nd at Sonoma Raceway. Visit racesonoma.com for tickets today. Beautiful look outside Yankee Stadium. The Yankees leading 2-1 over the Athletics. Tina Fey's in the house, right behind home plate. So she deserves good seats, and she has good seats.
Front row for 2,500 bills. That is only the first pitch strike by Sonny Gray and 8 batters. First inning, tough for him. 7 hitters, only 1. That was Mark Teixeira with a curveball.
Coming in is Zobrist, and it hung up for him.
Did it.
And Gregorius is retired on a line drive to Zobrist.
Well, that's where, as a left-hander, again, left-handed hitter plays shallow. Ben Zobrist did a great job. Sonny Gray had to be thinking, oops, there's a base hit, but great jump by Zobrist. Caught it chest high. And an easy play when you play shallow left field, as Zobrist did. See, I don't think there's going to be a lot of hitters that are going to go opposite field with home runs. Alex Rodriguez to right field, yes.
Yeah.
Not the lefties like Gregorius. No, they're not going to Gardner. They're going to slap the ball in the opposite field. So he plays shallow. And right now for Stephen Drew, Zobrist might be playing a little bit too deep. His 11 home runs, I guarantee, have gone down the right field line.
In first strike, 1-1. Speaking of Ben Zobrist, he was a busy guy. He was, no, I shouldn't say busy. I would say popular with the New York media.
Since both clubs are one.
Exactly. Of course, the rumor mill this time of year in Major League Baseball runs pretty hot. Who knows how much of it is true, but from what the rumors say is that both the Mets and the Yankees are very interested in Ben Zobrist. They probably are.
Sure. Well, anybody's a switch hitter and versatile defensively. He's going to be.
They're not the only two teams.
Exactly. Yeah, there's going to be, a matter of fact, his former manager, Joe Madden, the Cubs are interested as well.
So the New York media was waiting for Ben Zobrist when he sat down at his locker, and they surrounded him. But he handled it, and he said, hey, I'm an A.
That's right.
I like playing in Oakland. But, I mean, it can be a little relentless. I mean, he was being asked questions like, do you like New York? Do you like playing in New York? I mean, yeah.
Let's see.
But I like they don't let up.
How about Tampa, St. Pete?
Yeah.
Very little coverage. Oakland, very little coverage. New York, every day.
Drew hits one towards center. Burns goes back and over, and he's got it 2 out.
And if you can do that as a pitcher right there, you're going to have a lot of success at the big Yankee Stadium, because it is a poke to straightaway center. And look at this location, perfectly thrown outside corner. Drew knows it's a strike. All he can do is hit it to center field. You can swing as hard as you want. There's not many Reginald Martinez Jacksons who can go into the batter's eye center field as he did at old Yankee Stadium. The Yankeeography tonight was featuring Reggie Jackson, Mr. October, when he homered against the Dodgers in consecutive at-bats. One in Los Angeles and 3 here. Number 44 here. He's got retired a few places.
0-1 to Gardner. Well, what the Yankees do, and listen, they do a nice job, whether you like the Yankees or not. When you walk in this ballpark and up on their big scoreboard, Jumbotron board, they will have something Yankee related up there, and it may be a documentary on one of their former players, but it is on, and you do catch yourself watching it because it's interesting. And Gardner goes around on the 0-2 pitch, so good inning for Sonny Gray. 3 up, 3 down. We're moving to the third. It'll be Simeon, Burns, and Vogt. 2-1 Yankees.
At the O.co Coliseum, where fans can bring their dogs to the A's 7:05 p.m. game against the Houston Astros. Special ticket is required for Bark in the Park, presented by Nylabone, Adams, and Aberdeen. This event sells out annually and limited tickets remain. For information and tickets, visit athletics.com/bark at the park today.
Nice.
They'll be barking at the park.
Simeon, Burns, and Vogt here in the top of the third with the Yankees leading 2-1.
That's what they call Petco, isn't it?
That's right.
Petco Park.
Petco Park.
Bark at the park.
We were there. Hard slider for a strike. 1-1. Simeon 260. 7 home runs. 20 RBIs.
Well, Sonny Gray has settled down. Now if his offense can score him some more runs and get to Nate Eovaldi, and it'd be a good night for the Athletics. And that's how crucial the first inning was, that Sonny Gray gave up the broken bat hit to Brian McCann, and that got him on the board, and then another base hit. So 2-1 is the difference.
There's a shot to left, and that's going to get down for a hit. Young cuts it off quickly. No, Simeon with the leadoff single.
So that ball checked up.
It did.
You'd like to think the ball would get by Chris Young and go down the corner for a double. Pulled the hands in nicely, did Marcus Simeon, but down the line in left field looked like it's going to hook away from Chris Young, but it hit just right, checked right up like a golf shot that I could never do.
Sure you could.
No kidding. But guys can do that on a golf course, on a green, check it up, pull it back in the hole. Pretty special. Headley moves even closer at third base. He was close in his first at bat by Billy Burns. Maybe think he's going to bunt, but maybe that will help get a ball over his head. There's Headley at third on the grass. He was even with the bag first at bat by Billy Burns. Now the threat of a possible bunt. Wants to play a little bit closer, but that also opens up a bigger hole on the left side for Billy Burns to shoot one through.
And he bunts it, and it rolls foul.
That's a bunt for a base hit. Not a bad idea to drag the ball, either move the runner up and yourself, you get out, but also you have a pretty good chance of beating one out in a foot race. They actually kind of jabbed at it, trying to push the ball either to second or past the third baseman.
So good spot here for the A's with speed on first, speed in the batter's box, and the power guys coming up. This one's hit into center, and that's going to be a hit. One hop to Gardner, and 2 on, nobody out for the A's here in the third.
He does not hit them hard, but he finds a way to hit it this time in front of Brett Gardner, who was shading him more in left center, thinking he's going to hit the ball that direction. Let's not forget the pitcher tomorrow night for the Yankees scheduled to be CeCe Sabathia, one of 2 home runs hit by Billy Burns from the right side, the slider that he hit down the left field line in Oakland.
Just reading here in the notes, Ray, that's a 17-game road hitting streak.
That's right. That's right.
For Billy Burns.
That's exactly right.
So a shot for the A's here to tie it up as Vogt steps in. Vogt singled and scored in the first inning. Checked his swing. So 4 hits now for the Athletics against the Eovaldi, who's really given up a lot of hits this year. Coming in to this start, 110 hits in 87 innings. So now it's 2-0.
Stephen Vogt hit a curveball from Eovaldi for the base hit in the first inning. Back-to-back fastballs.
Hit me with your best shot. Fire away. Opponent's hitting 307. It almost looks like, Ray, and listen, we don't see Eovaldi a lot, but like he tries to be a little too fine.
That's right.
With his fastball, and he's throwing 97 miles an hour. Do you agree with that?
Sonny Gray to Alex Rodriguez. Same concept right there. Here it is, 3-1. Try to hit it as far as you can. He popped it up. He was upset, but you always have to remember hitters don't always hit a fastball like you expect them to. And
this is not any ordinary fastball.
Right.
It just looks like he picks a little bit, tries to make that perfect pitch.
And to your point, he may have to throw a fastball now, which helps the hitter. He may not even throw it now.
Hit hard. Drew dives under his glove, and that's a base hit. Simeon's going to come in, and he will score. Burns to third, and it's a 2-2 game.
That is lack of range there. That's amazing.
I was worried about it being a double play.
I was too. Stephen Vogt back-to-back hits, but wow, I mean, that ball slowed down by the grass. And Vogt, I mean, just enough to the left that Drew even has to dive for the ball. That's surprising. I mean, normally you catch that ball spin, at least get a runner at second and have a first and third, and then the weak throw coming in from the outfield. But granted, Drew was cheating towards the middle for a possible double play, but that was a great break for the A's.
So Vogt gets his 54th RBI, and it's a new game, 2-2 with Zobrist stepping in. So 3 straight hits to open up the third inning against Eovaldi. Curve is a strike. Didn't look like it.
Saw Colton Wong last night where the Cardinals take that same ball, turn it into a first and third inning double play. Actually, it was a double play with Lackey pitching, but that's the difference in the range, and it helps the A's score and tie the game tonight with a chance of going ahead.
High fastball foul back. 0-2 the count now to Zobrist, to ground it out to the second baseman back in the first inning.
This is when the A's need a professional at bat. Reddick did his job in the first inning with a 2-out RBI hit. Now Ben Zobrist with a chance, first and third. Put the ball in play, hopefully from a base hit or fly ball deep standpoint. Battle as best you can, especially now with 2 strikes.
High fastball into the upper deck. Zobrist, a guy who really just does not strike out very much. He's only struck out 18 times this year and 181 at bats. So generally puts it in play, which is good news for this situation.
And that's a pitch you better recognize, that it's going to be a breaking ball. It's going to be out of the strike zone because it's a hard slider. A guy throws 96, 97. Throw a hard slider down and in. If you don't recognize it as a hitter that it's a breaking ball, it's going to break out of the strike zone. That's one that you usually swing over.
Burns at third, Vogt at first, and he got him. That was a good pitch from Eovaldi. Maybe the best pitch he's thrown all day.
That's a split. A split that goes straight down right there. That's Sonny Gray throws the hard slider that looks like this pitch. This is an actual split finger fastball.
So 1 out, and here's Reddick. He had an RBI single in the first inning.
Maybe you should say 2 outs.
Yeah, let's just pretend there's 2 outs.
It's what he does his best, and now trying to do it with 1 out.
Down low, first pitch. Reddick picking up his 50th RBI in the first inning.
Well, he has 2 strikeouts, both coming on the split finger fastball. Brett Lawrie last inning, and now Ben Zobrist this inning. But if he throws at 2 strikes, it's a better pitch for him.
Drew, and he got it. No, out at second. The throw to first. Got him. Stephen Drew said, I caught it in the air. The umpire said no. So Drew was still able to turn the double play. So that's a tough break for the Athletics.
Wow.
So Bill Welke, the second base umpire, made the signal that it was not caught in the air.
But it throws Billy Burns at third. I think he caught it.
So a run for the A's, and we're tied at 2. Bottom of the third, it's a 2-2 game. A's and the Yankees. This is the final play.
That's an out in the air.
Yeah, I think he caught it.
And Vogt was off the bag. He was going to be doubled off first, but Burns at third froze because it was in the air. He did not want to be doubled off, so the A's were not going to score regardless. But they should have, because they had a big opportunity to blow the inning and the game open with a hit. But wow. And if Drew has any range at all, they don't score at all.
2 to Headley. Headley, Rodriguez, and Teixeira here in the bottom of the third. Sonny Gray struggled in the first, but settled down in the second. Had a 3-up, 3-down inning with a strikeout.
Only 11 pitches last inning. And that was definitely a much improved 40 now. He threw the 26 in the first inning.
And from what we have heard, Sonny Gray lost maybe 4 or 5 pounds while he was sick, but has been, for lack of a better phrase, eating at full strength lately. So.
And he played golf yesterday.
Exactly. So he must be feeling okay.
It must be a lot better. And maybe that was good for him to get out in the humidity in New York and play golf, get ready for tonight's start.
Good pitch. Strike 3 call down around the knees. Third strikeout. Here's our true story brought to you by McDonald's. June 19th, right here at Yankee Stadium, Alex Rodriguez, a home run off Justin Verlander for his 3,000th career hit. How about that? It was in the first inning off a fastball, and he became the 29th player in Major League Baseball history with 3,000 hits. Alex Rodriguez. Hit a fly ball to center field in the first inning. So active hits leaders. Ichiro getting close. Beltre a couple years away, as is Albert Pujols. Good breaking ball. So Alex Rodriguez is one of 3 players in Major League history with 3,000 hits and 600 home runs. Mays and Aaron are the other 2. That's about as select as you can get. Simeon waits, throws in time, 2 outs. Six in a row retired by Sonny Gray after the Garrett Jones RBI hit in the first. So here's Teixeira. Teixeira struck out swinging in the first inning. Bounces right back to Sonny Gray, who always fields his position well. Flips to first. 7 in a row retired for Gray, and we're moving to the 4th. It's a 2-2 game. That California is brought to you by Tahoe South. Join Team Summer at TahoeSouth.com. Hey, Ray, see that baseball field just to the right of the stadium?
Yeah.
What used to be there?
Yankee Stadium.
That's right. That's where it was. Look to the right where that baseball field and the football field there. That's where the old Yankee Stadium was. It's a very nice park. A couple baseball fields.
Did a nice job.
Butler to Gregorius. Straightens up and throws to first. So Billy Butler is grounded out a couple times.
Can't remember outside Yankee Stadium now. Do they still have the basketball hoops if the lights are on 24/7?
That's right. We would pull out of here with the old stadium, and there would be some serious basketball games going on.
Probably saw some NBA players, future NBA players there.
Yeah, you're right.
But the lights would be on. They were oblivious to anything happening in Yankee Stadium.
They weren't finishing up either. They were just getting started.
Yeah.
Ike Davis walked in the second inning. First pitch is a strike. Yankees last year went 84-78. They finished in second place, but 12 games behind the first place Orioles, and they missed that second wild card spot, which went to the Athletics. They missed that by 4 games. And the A's won 88 games.
And the back-to-back seasons that Joe Girardi saw 2 icons retire, Mariano Rivera, Derek Jeter, neither year did they go to postseason.
How about that?
Derek Jeter ended his career with a game winner walk-off to right field. That was against the Orioles.
Last time they missed the postseason 3 years in a row was 92, 93, and 94. And of course, 94 was the strike season.
And you know who played on those teams? Mike Gallego.
Drew has it, and that's the second out.
Gags decided to leave New York and relinquish number 2 to, as he said, a skinny, long, tall guy named Derek Jeter. And that number will never be worn again, as it will be up on that wall in left field that we've shown. 2, 4, 3, 4, 9. What, 19 numbers retired?
No, there's a bunch.
Wow.
You're going to need to make some room.
But as Gag said, when he came to New York and Oakland, he wore 3 and 9. Those numbers weren't really available here. So he took number 2, which he's wearing now. And as someone said, if they retired Derek Jeter's number 2 while the A's were in town, the only 2 guys on the field that ever wore number 2 would be here.
That's right. I think they should.
I think they should too. That would be good.
Good swing there by Laurie, and a pitch out away from him. Go back to spring training many years ago.
That's Gags on the right. Jeter, of course, he probably said to the coaches, let's get rid of that guy, number 2, because I want the number. But he got the number 2 back here, and Mike Gallego back in New York, where he enjoyed his 3 years.
So he left the A's and got a free agent contract to come here, right?
Yes, he did.
Pitch is dribbled up the third base line, but it's going to stay foul, so the count remains 1-2.
As Gags about playing here, he said, you know, because the fans, they can get on opposing players and they want to win. Fans of Yankees want to see them win as much as possible, and yet Gags said in those 3 years, he said, we were so bad the fans actually got on the Yankees.
That's not good.
That is not good. Get on the home players, because that's how badly they wanted to win. But he said when he came back as an opposing player, they got on him just like he'd never played here before.
Laurie with the open stance waits. 1-2 pitch. Got him with a slider. Tough pitch, and that's the 3rd strikeout for Nathan Eovaldi. So bottom of the 4th coming up. McCann to lead it off. It's 2-2 game. and it's good. There's our 2 A's All-Stars for this year. Sonny Gray, sensational season, and Stephen Vogt. And we mentioned in the open of our show, Ray, it's two opposite ends of the spectrum as far as minor league, amateur careers, but they both end up in the same spot. Sonny Gray was a terrific college player, first-round draft pick, star written all over him. Stephen Vogt, a different story. I mean, he had a grind through the minor leagues, thought about quitting. His wife talked him out of it. Remember, he started his career, what, 0 for 25, 0 for 30, something like that?
Actually, 0 for 32, I think it was. He had his first major league hit was a home run in Oakland after going 0 for 32, 33, something like that.
But now he's an All-Star.
Yep.
And really, I mean, if you remember, wasn't that long ago, he didn't make the team out of spring training
last year.
I mean, that's amazing.
Worst thing that Bob Melvin said he had to do. He was so emotional that he had to tell Stephen Vogt, while he deserved to make the club, he was not.
So what you're saying is Stephen Vogt probably handled it better emotionally than the manager did.
He was emotional too, but at least the manager was probably
felt horrible.
He felt horrible. You're right. I mean, for him to have to tell him, and as Stephen Vogt said, you know, he's glad it was Bob who did tell him, because at least Bob knew, and I'm sure said, this shouldn't be happening, but it has to happen.
And now he's an All-Star. Yeah. So congratulations to those two guys. 3-1 to McCann is bounce foul at the plate. So the AL starters is this right here. Good group. Salvador Perez, Cabrera, who will not play. Albert Pujols will start in place of Cabrera. Then Altuve, Escobar up the middle. Donaldson had the most votes of anybody in all of baseball. Trout, Kane, Gordon are your outfielders. And Nelson Cruz is the DH. So the Royals end up with 4 starters. It's good to see Altuve get voted in. Right. He deserves that.
The Royals also have Herrera and Davis, a couple of guys who are going to be in the bullpen.
Now the American League reserve position players, and that group has some terrific players on it, as always. Martin and Pujols, but how about Brock Holt? Brock Holt is the only Red Sox to make the All-Star team. If you had money on that at the beginning of the year, you're a big winner. Iglesias, J.D. Martinez make it. Bautista joins Donaldson on the team. Machado, Jones, a couple of Orioles. Kipnis having a sensational season. Prince Fielder, the only Ranger to make it. Garrett Jones takes inside. So that's the starters and the extra position players. We'll show you the pitchers here in a moment. Garrett Jones had an RBI single in the first inning. Runs low, 2-0. Chris Young to follow. After Young, it would be Gregorius. And Jones takes it, and you would think that's the location that Garrett Jones would swing at every time.
Fastball, center cut. I mean, that's.
He may not get a better pitch to hit.
Thinking of Oscar Gamble when he played here.
That was his pitch.
He done the old helicopter with his bat. He's swinging so hard.
And right there, and Jones took it. What a nice pitch, 2-2. So looked like Sonny Gray just worked his way out about 6 inches.
And he's got a chance to work a little bit farther, at least to go back to that same spot. If not, maybe get into try to roll over on a pitch and hit an easy ground ball to second to get 2.
And instead he lines it to left. So an off-speed pitch and a pretty good job of hitting there by Garrett Jones. So 2 on, nobody out. Let's look at the pitching staff for the American League. A couple of Rays on there, Archer and Boxberger. Of course, Keiko made it. We knew that was going to happen. A couple of Royals relievers, Davis and Herrera, have made it. A couple of Orioles relievers, O'Day and Britton. Chris Sale, David Price. So we'll see who's going to start that game for the American League. Sonny Gray is going to pitch tonight, and he's going to pitch on Sunday. So Sonny Gray is going to make the team, but he's not going to be eligible to pitch. So somebody is going to be named in his place. A little flare. This could be all kinds of trouble. Foul. Well, Sonny Gray will be an all-star, and he'll enjoy all the festivities.
Now,
but I guess,
has he decided? Because I think there was some question because he would not pitch Monday because that's a rest day, but Tuesday is a side session, and
I think maybe they're allowed if they want to pitch one inning.
Right, yeah. Right. And that's. But he said he has to make the decision as soon as possible so they can select somebody else.
So it's technically it's not like an automatic. No, you're not pitching. It's up to the pitcher.
And actually the A's pretty much. Do they want him to take the chance? Because it's not going to be a normal side session. It would be high energy level pitching an inning in the All-Star game. And
it's limited to just one inning.
Yeah, right.
So that's the pitcher / organization's decision to make. And as we have seen the last couple of years, most of the time it's a no, you're not going to pitch. But we shall see.
But Sonny definitely said, I'm going to pitch today, Tuesday, and Sunday for sure. He said,
see if the A's can turn two, and they will. Semien takes care of it. 6-3 on the double play. 2 outs now with the runner at third.
Anytime you can eliminate a throw, a toss, a flip, you do it. And this ball hit softly enough. Good, very good first step by Semien, and good range to get to the ball to be able to say to Sogard, I'll take it myself. Sogard gets out of the way. And instead of flipping, taking that time and maybe giving the runner at first a chance to get on him, Semien, a good job, good decision to take it himself. And those are the little things that come into Marcus Semien playing at shortstop every little play, trying to make it happen.
So here's Gregorius. And he rips one to right center field, and that's a big 2-out hit. Gregorius with a big turn. He'll stop. But McCann trots in to score, and Gregorius gives the Yankees a 3-2 lead. So fastball center cut. Gregorius did not wait around.
Well, he shouldn't. That's what Garrett Jones should have done, and unfortunately for the A's, Gregorius did. And I'm surprised he didn't try to go for 2. The ball was in right center, and if he's running hard to first, he might have had a chance to at least take a chance to go to second, but decides to hold up. But Sonny Gray, it's very rare for Sonny. He did walk 3 against the Angels. Actually, he walked 3 and all 3 scored. And tonight 2 have scored. And that is very unusual for him. So another 2-out hit and a big one this time again.
Oh, 0-1 to Stephen Drew. 0-2 to Stephen Drew. Drew hit a fly ball to center field in the second inning. Average at 177. He does have the 11 home runs. Also has 11 doubles. So 64 pitches for Sonny Gray. Shift on with Semien playing right up the middle. Gregorius with a decent lead. Hard but fouled down the first baseline. What we've noticed about this ballpark, Ray, the crowds seem to be a little more quiet than they were at the old stadium.
Right.
Old stadium was kind of just a raucous place.
Maybe because the seats were on top of the field. They were just it was similar shape, but it just seemed like they were closer with more of a bowl effect. And These the lower stands, of course, go way back, but then the second level and the upper deck at Old Yankee Stadium would just seem like they're pulling straight down.
Yeah, maybe it held the noise in a little bit better. 2-2 to Stephen Drew. And a very close play at first. Mike Davis says, wait a minute.
Sonny Gray quick.
That was close.
Yeah.
The question may have been, did Ike Davis tag it? If he did, it was very close. Good take there by Drew. So the count full, and Gregorius will take off. A run in for the Yankees as they have taken the lead here in the bottom of the 4th inning. So Gregorius runs, and the pitch is in the dirt. So second walk in the inning for Sonny Gray. 2 on 2 out, and now you face a tough hitter in Brett Gardner. Speaking of Brett Gardner, Ray, that final fan vote for the final player on the roster, the 5 guys from each league are set, and Brett Gardner is one of those 5. It's Gardner, Xander Bogaerts, Yoenis Cespedes, Brian Dozier, or Mike Moustakas. So one of those 5 will be added to the American League All-Star roster, and that's just a simple fan vote.
And probably like they did here in the other 4 cities, they did the same. They're promoting it on their jumbotron here.
Oh my goodness!
Vote for Brett Gardner. You can make it happen. So,
and he's got a shot.
Yeah.
First pitch is a strike with a breaking ball. So here's the final vote. There's the American League, National League: Cueto, Familia, Kershaw, Martinez, and Tulowitzki. So 1 from each league will make it.
Dozier a walk-off last night for the Twins to win the game over the Orioles.
He would be a tough guy to keep off.
Oh, yeah. 17 home runs, second baseman.
Gardner rolls it up the line, foul. The Astros with 2 All-Stars, the Angels with 2, the Mariners with 2, and the Rangers with just 1. Royals have the most. They have 6. The Cardinals have 5. And then the Tigers, Orioles, Giants, Dodgers, Pirates have 4. Pitch, and Gardner off the hands to Sogard, who flips to second. Side retired. So a couple of walks, a couple of hits, and a run for the Yankees. So they lead 3-2 after 4. Broadcast Sportsnet California is brought to you by Real Strong Redwood. Why Redwood? Visit realstrongredwood.com. So 3-2 Yankees lead. It's the top of the 5th inning. Sogard, Simeon, and Burns against Nate Eovaldi. Talking a little bit about the All-Star game a week from tonight in Cincinnati. Rosters are pretty much set. Maybe a few additions.
Well, Stephen Vogt said the nice thing that the reserves were announced yesterday, so it gives us full week. He said everybody will be there. Family, of course, immediate families, parents, and we have a great representation. The All-Star game, a special time. And while Sonny Gray probably the first of many, who knows for Stephen Vogt, you just never know. Last year the A's had 7 All-Stars.
0-2 pitch to Sogard is slapped foul down the left field line. National League starting lineup has Posey, Goldschmidt, Gordon, Peralta, Frazier, Harper, Holiday, and Stanton. Stanton will not play. Andrew McCutchen will start in his place. Matt Holliday's on the disabled list, but he still wants to play. He wants to maybe come off the disabled list soon and play in Tuesday's game. We'll see if that happens as Sogard rolls one into right field for a hit. So hit number 6. So leadoff single. See if the A's can do something with it as Simeon steps in. National League pitching staff. Max Scherzer a chance to start, obviously. Greinke also couldn't start that game. Garrett Cole, a 12-game winner. A.J. Burnett, a long career, and he made it for the first time. And he's really having a good year for Pittsburgh, and he's going to retire after this year. I remember those days with A.J. Burnett with the Blue Jays. He was always good, but I always felt like he could be better. And then finally, late in his career, he's really kind of put it all together.
And I think Bruce Bochy, the manager, the National League All-Star, said because of that, Burnett's talking about retiring and having a very good season. And Bruce Bochy talked about how he wanted to make sure that he was part of it, and that's great.
And as always, there's always some omissions, guys that certainly could have made it and didn't. That's always the topic of discussion right around All-Star roster time. Fouled at the plate. Here's the extra players for the National League. Rizzo, Brandon Crawford, and Joe Panik from the Giants. So the middle infield from the Giants made it. Arenado, we saw him. Jock Peterson, what a terrific young player he is for the Dodgers.
Got a couple of rookies, Chris Bryant and Jock Peterson. One of the Cubs, one of the Dodgers, both rookies making the team.
Young star power there. Swing and a miss. Got him on 0-2.
Sogard hit the split for a base hit with 2 strikes, but they've only went after Marcus Semien with a similar pitch, and got the A's shortstop with that one after singling at a 2-strike pitch a previous at bat.
So 4 strikeouts for Eovaldi, and now to the top of the order in Burns. Burns has lined out and singled, shows bunt, and the pitch is outside.
Billy Burns, in his own way, his style of play, he's going to be an all-star in the future. He's putting himself on the map, all the rookie statistics this year.
Picked up his 79th hit in the 3rd inning. That's the most among AL rookies. Burns with 10 doubles, 5 triples, and 17 stolen bases. So 2-0 the count.
For an aggressive hitter to recognize that curveball up and out of the strike zone is pretty impressive. That he was able to do that, lay off the pitch, because pretty much all he could have done is under it and pop it up instead of driving the ball.
And he hits this one down the right field line into foul territory. Teixeira's got room. Actually, was not really down the line. Teixeira just got into foul territory and had enough room. So 2 outs here in the top of the 5th for Vogt. It's a good night for Vogt. Singled and scored in the 1st, and an RBI single in the 3rd. .76 pitches for Eovaldi. That sweeping slider, it's down and in. Runner goes. Pitch is a strike. Throw to second base. Not in time. Sogard just got his hand in there.
Goy's looking in the dugout asking to take a look at it. I don't know if he thought by catch the ball on the hop that he was able to put the tag down quickly enough. But he's making the call based on the tag. Watch him come up. Now I think Joe Girardi decided to sit down because see, when you come up like that and have to go back down, that makes it a little bit more difficult.
So Sogard, an important stolen base. Get yourself into scoring position with 2 outs.
And also for Stephen Vogt, which was out of the strike zone.
So 1-1 the count to Vogt. 295 is the batting average. And he lines this one to center, but it's right at Gardner. So tough luck there for Stephen Vogt. Hit it hard, but Sogard is stranded. Bottom of the 5th coming up.
Comet Bat, the #1 app for live baseball. At Bat is up to the moment, at any moment, with in-game highlights, live look-ins, replay reviews, radio broadcast, statcast, and more. Get MLB.com at Bat for your smartphone or your tablet.
Chase Headley takes a pitch outside. Headley walked and scored in the first, struck out looking in the third. Sonny Gray has walked 3, and 2 of them have scored.
Yeah. Remember 2 starts ago, of course, the last start against the Rangers, he beat them 6-3 in Texas on that hot, steamy, sunny afternoon in Arlington on the Thursday.
Right at Art Davis, hit hard, but he'll take it himself. Time now for the T-Mobile Game Changer. Milestones for Alex Rodriguez. May of this year, 661st home run. In June, he reached 2,000 RBIs. Later on in June, reached 3,000 hits. Third player reached 3,000 hits with a home run. And there's the 3,000 hit, 600 home run club. So the resume for Alex Rodriguez, he's got a couple more years left on a contract, so he's certainly not close to being done at all. He will continue to add to those numbers. Davis over, and it's into the seats. Rodriguez is 39 years old. He will turn 40 a little bit later this month. And I'm going to be honest with you, I chuckled a little bit. And a year ago, the media was all over this guy, and now they're like, he really should be an all-star.
Yeah.
I was surprised by that a little bit. Everybody seemed to think that, and I'm not saying he has not had a good season. That's the point I'm making, is nobody had anything good to say about him a year ago, and now everybody's campaigning for him to be an all-star, which is interesting. The RBI total, 2016.
Well, Hank Aaron, of course, the top. He has passed Barry Bonds, but I think from the standpoint of Alex Rodriguez, I'll be honest with you, I didn't know how many more home runs he would hit.
Yeah.
But when he got his hip repaired, remember, he was out for a while. He had hip issues, and some would say, I mean, 16 home runs now, because it looked like he couldn't catch up to a fastball, but maybe getting the hip repaired, maybe really taking the year off helped him.
Sure.
As far as the hip is concerned, because he's turning on balls a lot better than many thought.
And that was right there, and he knew it. Fastball, strike 3 call.
Well, just a good fastball, maybe thinking something other than this fastball down the middle. Had a little movement coming inside, but Alex just could not pull the trigger. You know,
hey, Ray, it was not uncommon for us to hear people say, I don't think he'll play again.
Yeah, that's right.
That was a pretty common sentiment about him.
Because of the injuries and serving the year suspension.
Yeah. So he has really come back and had a very nice season. But I heard and read a couple of times today, it would be good for the game for Alex Rodriguez to make the All-Star team. It's like, well, how is that?
Yeah, they're debating the numbers he's put up, and well, wait a minute, you know, maybe it warrants being an all-star.
And that's fine. Yeah. That's an okay argument, but I don't know that it's going to enhance the game's image if he's an all-star.
Jason Shreve, who pitched against the A's a couple of times in Oakland.
Teixeira got a hanger and rolls it foul.
The one thing Alex Rodriguez has said, and you know, from everything that he's had to deal with, said when he came back he wanted to do 2 things: keep his head down, swing the bat, you know, and basically not really talk. I think they handled it during spring training. Joe Girardi said it's getting out of the way and let him play baseball, and while it was an attraction and a distraction in spring training, they got through it, and he's having a very good year.
And he has done a good job of you know, handling
exactly
the different things that he had to handle.
And really, it's similar to what Tony La Russa did for Mark McGwire. When Mac first came back as hitting coach, and Tony said, spring training, get rid of it one time, meet, and that's it, no more, and let him do his job. And I think from Alex's standpoint, give him credit for doing the same thing.
2-2, off-speed pitch and a swing and a miss. So a couple of strikeouts for Sonny Gray in the 5th. We're headed to the 6th. Yankees 3, A's 2. Bulls brought to you by Chevron. A couple of lefties. Scott Kazmir having a very fine season. CC Sabathia really struggling. ERA 5.5. Thoughts of putting him in the bullpen even.
Yeah.
I don't know that will happen, but if CC can turn it around in the second half. So 3-2, Yankees leading. It'll be Zobrist, Reddick, and Butler. Sounds like if the Yankees had their wish list of who to get in a trade, they would probably go after starting pitcher. I think the lineup will score enough runs. Got a real good 1-2 punch in the bullpen. But maybe a starter short in a division really that's up for grabs.
Yes.
It may be who makes the best trade is who wins that division. Good pitch there, and it's 1-2.
As Joe Girardi said about CC, you got him this year, next year for a lot of money, and then I can put the money in the bullpen, so he'll stay. But I agree. I mean, they put Adam Warren back in the bullpen. They've got Nova back. Tanaka's back. But pitching is always a premium. That's why ever since McCarthy and Ryu went down in Los Angeles, they started talking about Scott Kazmir. Yeah, it's got to be available because the A's off to a poor start. But I think the A's are going to pick it up and play much better, as they already have been since mid-May.
So the AL East is tight. The top 4 teams are separated by 2.5 games. And even the Red Sox, who just have not been able to put it all together yet, they're only 6 back. So nobody's having a great year in that division. Pitch number 85 coming up, and here it is. And he did not go.
Thank you. That's that hard slider that he took last at bat with 2 strikes. That's a good call. It's a lot of body, but not a lot of bat. Went forward.
Good look right there, right down the third baseline. There's a shot. Drew with a backhand pick, and he throws him out. Nice play by Stephen Drew.
that was a very good pick. And for Evaldi, who went just 4 2/3 innings that started in Oakland, throwing 96 pitches. That's probably why Shreve is up in the bullpen. His pitch count getting up, and matter of fact, as we speak, that's it.
So when it's time for a change, think Speedy Oil Change and Tune-Up, your oil change tune-up and smog experts.
An Oakland A's bobblehead dressed in an A's jersey wearing elephant ears. 15,000 fans can pick up and hug, if you want to, the Hello Kitty bobblehead Saturday, July the 18th. That's against the Twins. Visit athletics.com/tickets today.
So Nate Evaldi, who had retired 9 out of his last 10, is taken out of the game after 86 pitches. So 6 hits, 2 runs, a walk, and 4 strikeouts.
But I don't know if the humidity got him. Maybe Joe Girardi wanted a lefty to go against at least Josh Reddick. And that was a pretty impressive number, 6-1. He did face the Athletics in Oakland on the 28th. Pitched well. And he's got that good slider, changeup, and a split. The fastball mid-90s.
3 lefties in that bullpen for the Yankees. Shreve, Wilston, and Capuano. 1-1 the count. Adam Warren, who started a game against the A's in Oakland, he gets up. Nasty pitch there, and now it's 1-2.
You don't see a lot of left-handers with a split finger fastball.
That was a good one, too.
And it doesn't really matter location, as McCann set up in the middle of the plate and went straight down. If he wiggles his fingers, he's got another one coming. There it is.
And he got him. So you are right, Ray Fosse. He went right back to it.
Josh must have thought he foul tipped the ball, but it does go straight down. It is a splitter. And if Josh fouled it, didn't matter because McCann, well, he made it bounce, but not a foot in front of the catcher, though when he backhanded the ball, maybe in the webbing.
So 2 outs here in the top of the 6th, and that'll bring up Butler. So Jason Shreve, another good reliever coming out of the bullpen, and that one is belted, and that baby's gone. And just like that, we're tied at 3. Billy Butler on the first pitch lines it into the seats and left.
Would that be considered an ambush?
That was an ambush.
Boy, it did not get very high, and that was the concern, that maybe the top spin would keep it in the park. But Billy Butler jumped on it, got a right-hander in hail with the Rockies, and this one ties the game, and that's a big one. And Cap, you know the difference in that right there. If Reddick reaches, pretty good chance Warren comes in to face Butler. He didn't. He struck him out. He faces because of Ike Davis hitting behind Butler, and he stays in, and Butler hits him with a home run. So sometimes the success of a pitcher causes a manager to stay with him just because of who follows. And Billy Butler, good to see the smile on his face, number 7, and a game tire.
Ike Davis has walked and grounded out. Hits it up the middle. Gregorius is there. Side retired, but Billy Butler ties it with his 7th home run of the year. A line shot into the seats in left field. 3-3 game as we go to the bottom of the 6th.
Some scoring in the game. Josh Reddick, a big 2-out RBI single. Got the A's on the board in the first inning, 1-0, but the Yankees would come back themselves with a couple of outs. A broken bat base hit by McCann to left field. That would tie the game. Gardner, and then how about this one? A base hit. Headley. Scoring. Stephen Vogt tied it with a base hit to right field under the glove of Drew. That would tie it. And then the Yankees would take the lead again. That would be on Gregorius' 2-out base hit. We talk about seesaw battle. How about Billy Butler? Ambushing Shree with the first pitch fastball into the lower part of the left field bleachers. Tied at 3. And you can get McCann. But you can also find out what's possible with AT&T. Call 1-800-PICK AT&T, mobilizing your world.
So McCann grounds out. So a quick out for Sonny Gray. He's had 83 pitches through 5 1/3.
Kev, I don't think Nate Eovaldi's very happy. Do you?
I don't think he's happy at all. I was surprised they took him out. Just
86 pitches
and retire 9 out of 10. I don't know. Just it wasn't expected.
Yeah.
Even though they had a guy out there warming up.
Do you think he's talking to Shreve there?
No, he's mad at him.
Now, but it's, probably between Larry Rothschild, Kurt Young, the respective pitching coaches, having to deal with the managers, Joe Girardi, Bob Melvin, and you work together, pitching coach and manager, and you kind of maybe see something and start looking at matchups, and you pull the plug and make the decision, and you always hope it works out. Sometimes it does not.
0-2 the count to Garrett Jones. Jones loops one into left, but Zobrist is there. 2 outs.
So it's a pretty good idea. Zobrist doing a good job. Jones that time, as he did his last at bat, trying to take the off-speed pitch the opposite field. He dropped it in front of Zobrist. This time, though, Zobrist was playing shallow.
But 2 innings have got Sonny Gray, the first and the fourth.
49 pitches, those two. Other than that, I mean, 1, 2, 3, the second, the third, the fifth, trying to make it the sixth.
Yeah, he's retired 6 in a row here as he faces Chris Young. Astros and the Indians are playing. There was some rain in Cleveland, but they are underway. In fact, the Indians with a 1-0 lead in the fifth. First place Astro. Vasquez for Houston and Kluber for the Indians. That's game 2 of a 4-game series in Cleveland. Houston won last night 9-4.
So that means Kluber Sunday.
That's right.
Cy Young Award winner. Kluber and Gray.
It also means, Ray, you and I could, if we get there in time on Thursday, we could shoot over to what's the ballpark? Progressive Field. Sit out in the bleachers, catch a couple innings.
You got a night game, huh? Night game?
It's up to you. Just let me know. I'll go online, get us some tickets.
Well, if it was the stadium right next to Progressive, I know where you'd be if they were playing the round ball indoors.
Could get over there. We could go see your plaque out in center field and then watch a couple innings from the bleachers. We would probably have a good time. 2-2 is tapped slowly. It's going to be a tough play for Laurie, and it's going to be an infield hit for Young. Do or die play for Brett Laurie. He had to go for the backhand.
Well, that's always a tough part for a pitcher. You make a good pitch, you get a hitter to swing late, beat the ball on the ground, and not much of a chance for Brett Laurie. I mean, it is do or die, and he's just trying to barehand the ball, get a grip, and throw because Chris Young still runs well. Just could not come up with it, and it's got him in the palm of his hand, not on the fingertips.
So 6th hit for the Yankees, and here's Didi Gregorius. He's hit 2 line shots tonight, and that one rolls away from Vogt in the dirt. So Young will get to second.
Well, another wild pitch, and of course Sonny has a few of those, and it's because of this pitch, the hard slider, and it really bounced way out in front of the plate. Actually hit in the glove of Stephen Vogt, the catcher's mitt, but bounced too far away. Yeah, that's a lot. Now the concern is that same fastball that Gregorius hit his last at bat. He drove in a 2-out run, and will not want to make the same mistake.
That was in the 4th. In the 2nd, he hit a line drive right at the left fielder. Again, a breaking ball that's low.
And because of the way he's swinging the bat, and his numbers have picked up considerably since the A's last saw him. And maybe pitch him carefully since first base is open. Sunday, the heartbreaker for the A's was Seth Smith, 2-run single off Chris Bassett that helped the Mariners defeat the A's 2-1.
Now 3-0 with Stephen Drew waiting in the on-deck circle.
I'd say he's got the green light. If you're hot, you swing on the bat. That might be the only pitch you get that's good enough to swing it.
Well, he got one to swing at. He didn't. 3-1 is the count. Gregorius coming over in a 3-team trade. Came from the Diamondbacks in the offseason. And he hits it hard to Davis. Step to his right, and he's got it side retired. So Sonny Gray gets out of the jam. A runner left, and we are moving to the 7th inning on a beautiful night in the Big Apple. 3-3 game, A's and the Yankees.
on 90s Music Fireworks Show presented by the Chevron, Techron, and Advantage credit card. Friday, July the 31st. Fans can watch the post-game fireworks show from the outfield grass, but as always, on-field capacity is limited. Get your tickets today at athletics.com/fireworks. Salute to the military. The Friday, July the 3rd. Very nice display of the patriotic fireworks.
They were good.
Yeah. So are those bleachers with the TV monitors inside because they can't see a lot from that shot. They cannot see what happens in left field, so the monitors are there to help them see what's going on in left field. It's help them also see who's pitching now, the new pitcher.
Adam Warren. When it's time for change, think Speedy Oil Change and Tune-Up. Your oil change, tune-up, and smog experts. From the rotation to the bullpen for Adam Warren. Yeah. He's made 14 starts and actually was pitching pretty well as one of the starters, but now in the bullpen.
Well, a tough decision for Joe Girardi to have to make, but as he said, Adam Warren, of the guys in the rotation, probably the only one who could step out of the rotation, go to the bullpen, continue to succeed. And so his versatility, like we know of Jesse Chavez, maybe contributed to his exit to the bullpen. So it's shut out by the Athletics in the game he pitched. That was Jesse Chavez pitching. We shut out the Yankees pitching 8 solid innings.
1-1 to Laurie, who has struck out twice. Another lefty, Justin Wilson, starts to throw. It's good Yankees bullpen. Foul just below us. The Angels and the Rockies are underway in Colorado, and the Angels are leading 8-0 in the second inning. Pujols with a 3-run homer, Trout with a 3-run homer, Joyce with a solo homer, and I would say the ball is sailing tonight at Coors Field, but I guess you could say that often. But the Angels are starting to heat up.
Yeah, they played well in Texas against the Rangers before going to Colorado.
Angels have won 7 out of 8, and they are just 3.5 games back of the Astros. So looks like they're making their move. That's just a 2-game series at Coors Field in Denver. Count stays 2-2 to Laurie.
But that game may not be over. It's only 8-0. No. That's only the second inning.
Rockies got them right where they want.
Billy Butler got his home run, first in the month of July. All his ex-teammates going to Cincinnati for the All-Star game.
Laurie fouls that one back.
You pointed out in Oakland about how far Brett Laurie is off the plate, and it's amazing how he can cover the outer part of the plate, and especially a slider breaking away, because he is as deep and back off the plate as any right-hander we've seen, any hitter in general. And when he closes up, he doesn't close that much, but still somehow able to handle the outside part of the plate. But now they're going in again.
Very close pitch.
So I'd say the next is going to be away. Either slider, fastball, trying to catch the inside corner with the front door slider. Slider.
And he got him. So I think you're right. Laurie probably knew it was coming, but it was a pretty good pitch. So he strikes out for the 3rd time.
Well, the fastball, then it came back with a slider really right down the middle of a hanger. It was a kind of a get me over slider on 3-2. And see the reaction of Brett Laurie, upset that he did not make contact.
So with 1 out, Sogard steps in. He is 1 for 2. He singled and stole the base in the 5th. First pitch, outside corner strike. Diamondbacks and the Rangers are underway in Arlington. Interleague matchup. No score, bottom of the 4th inning. Ray for Arizona, Gallardo for the Rangers. That is also just a 2-game series. Giovanni Gallardo has really turned his season around. He's got a 2.56 ERA.
Free agents have a tendency to do that.
That's true.
Free agent pitchers looking for a humongous contract.
And you know what? He will get paid.
Yes, he will.
Liner, but right into the glove of Teixeira, who was playing even with the bag. 2 outs. So Sogard got a hanger.
Well, just a foot over his head, and it's a double down in the corner. But he's back to the dugout with a 1-for-3 night.
Simeon takes that slider down and away. A single, a run scored, and a strikeout for Marcus Simeon. And this one skied left side. Gregorius near the seats. And did he catch it? No. He almost made a sensational catch. Would have been another tarp catch. We've seen a couple of those this year.
That's right. Well, he got there and reached over. Actually, might have been a catchable ball.
I think if he's 2 feet down further on the tarp, he probably catches it. But a good effort. So 1-1 to Marcus Simeon. Good fastball there, 94 miles an hour. He sets up a couple different pitches here for Warren. So you saw the fastball up and in. Swing and a miss, slider down and away.
You have a mid-90s fastball. You wonder again, as we talked about Nate Eovaldi, why wouldn't throw it more? Especially since Warren's really hanging a slider. It's not a sharp breaking slider.
Good pitch, has like a little cut fastball, caught the inside corner. So a good inning for Warren. Couple of strikeouts. 7th inning stretch from Yankee Stadium. We're all tied at 3.
Any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Athletics Investment Group, LLC.
A's fans, this is your chance to meet all-star catcher Stephen Vogt. How sweet does that sound? Stephen will be signing autographs at the Xfinity store at 4104 Grafton Street in Dublin on July the 18th. That's a Saturday from 11 a.m. to noon. Autographs are not guaranteed, so be sure to arrive early. And if you want a chance to see a gentleman and get an autograph of an all-star, that would be meeting Stephen Vogt. He is a good man, good all-star, and very proud, very happy for him.
So we got a 3-3 game as Sonny Gray back out there for the bottom of the 7th inning. A little bit of a rocky start for Sonny Gray. He gave up a couple of runs in the first inning, but since then, just the 1 run. He's got 5 strikeouts, so maybe a little rust early on, Ray, but he got rid of that quickly.
Oh, very quickly, and it almost took the curveball to Mark Teixeira in the first inning. Got him again there, struck Teixeira out a couple of times, but after missing with fastballs to Gardner, Headley, and then A-Rod, he got Teixeira, but unfortunately a 2-route jam base hit, broken bat, 3 earned runs, of course 3 walks, 2 have scored. So I would think Nate Eovaldi's got to be thinking, wait a minute, I'm healthy. I didn't have salmonella. And I'm out of the game, and he's still pitching.
And I was doing okay.
Yeah, that's right. That's like Warren Spahn and Juan Marichal. 16 innings. Marichal said, as long as that old man keeps going out there, Mr. Almondar, I'm going to go out myself.
Marichal was very young.
Oh,
in his
yeah,
career.
I think it's a rookie. And here's Warren Spahn, the winningest left-handed pitcher ever. It's 363 victories. That's Pomeranz and Mujica. Sonny Gray, 97 pitches, and what an outing it's been for the first-time All-Star.
And his first pitch here in the bottom of the 7th to Stephen Drew is high. Drew, Gardner, and Headley, 9-1-2 for the Yankees. Fastball right on the outside corner, first strike.
One of the 3 walks to Stephen Drew, and that was in the 4th inning. So nothing against Stephen Drew, but he's hitting a .168, 78 coming into this game, and you never know, home runs, probably a pitches and mistakes inside.
Changeup.
Yeah.
Drew tonight has hit a fly ball to center field, and then, as Ray said, the walk.
Fastball away, running away from him.
Check swing, no appeal, so the count even at 2-2.
And those are the concerns, Cap, as you know, that start pushing the ball a little bit, you start elevating, and that is something for Jesse Chavez, who we'll see in the series finale. He's able to get on top of pitches.
Simeon, a couple steps to his right, throws low, and Davis could not dig it out. So it's going to be an error. And it was really pretty routine.
Yeah, it's routine. He just threw a sinker. It kind of guided the ball, and Ike Davis, of course, takes a lot of pride in scooping those, and this one, unfortunately, just could not come up. The ball came up in the heel, and man, that is the routine. And so now he's looking back, or looking into Sonny Gray about. He's going to be one covering, and he knows it. He's shaking his head, and it's kind of tough. And it's when you start thinking every time you're going to throw, and that's his routine, that's when it happens. If it's quick, you don't have to think. Those are the good things that happen.
I tell you what, in watching that replay, I mean, it's almost amazing how much the ball sank.
Exactly.
I mean, he must be just
he's cutting it off.
Yeah,
right, look at that.
Watch this ball sink. I know this is in slow motion, but it still gives you a pretty good idea. Look at this. It just dives.
Starts dying right there.
I mean, that's amazing.
And Ike Davis is going out trying to get to it before it does hit the ground, but it unfortunately could not get that far.
But correct me if I'm wrong, Ray, but the sinking throw, that makes it very difficult for the first baseman to read where the ball is going to be.
And plus, and again, it's all about throwing, because when he's not really airing it out. He should be throwing that ball as hard as he can instead of trying to guide the ball, and he knows that. And that's, I tell you, it's not easy to be a work in progress during a major league season. And knowing every time that happens, and while he makes the plays, he's made them tonight.
I think most infielders that are real confident, they just let it go.
I mean, I think of Cliff Pennington, his rookie season, when he caught the final out of Dallas Braden's perfect game. He took a lot of pride in his strong arm.
So now the A's will try to keep that air from hurting. Drew, decent speed. Gardner, the hitter, with Headley in the on-deck circle, and plenty of action in the A's bullpen. I think Ike Davis is going to be disappointed as well, because he's going to. I mean, Ike Davis is a very good first baseman. He's going to feel like he should have scooped it.
Right. Well, he really saved the game on Saturday with the ball that was hit, and he's still shaking his head. Seth Smith hit the ball and made a great diving play and flipped backhand to Graveman covering, got out of the inning, and you can see he's still shaking his head, because the last thing he wants to do is not be able to scoop one and save an error for an infield.
Gardner slowly hit to Davis. His only play will be at first base, so almost acts like a bunt. Gardner grounds out, but Drew now at second base.
Well, Sonny, you've got, of course, he's going to talk to Stephen Vogt. He's actually calling Stephen out to talk to him, and this is the old adrenaline couple of matters here. He's got a tie game. He's got an unearned run at second base, but he wants to pick up a shortstop. He wants to head back in the dugout, perhaps his final inning, and give his club a chance to score in the 8th inning, give him a victory. But you probably will see him bearing down, rearing back, and throwing 108th pitch coming up in most critical times right now.
Headley is the hitter, and the first pitch is a strike to Headley, who has walked and scored, struck out, and grounded to first. High fastball, and Headley cannot catch up to that one.
Low curve, high fastball. It's what a sequence.
Yeah, that one had a little giddy up at the end. Drew, the go-ahead run at second base. Simeon keeping him close, playing right behind him. Now he backs off. And there's a liner. Sogard's got it, and that's a double play. So Drew drifted too far off, and it goes as a double play, and Sonny Gray gets out of it. So we'll go to the 8th inning. A's will have the top of the
on Comcast Sportsnet California is brought to you by Toyota, the full-line automaker with the longest-lasting vehicles in America. Toyota, let's go places. And by Xfinity, home of the most live sports.
So Sonny Gray, strong performance. Top of the 8th inning. It's 3-3. Sonny well over 100 pitches, so he's probably done for the night.
What a way to finish, though, to get a big double play. A little bit unconventional, but a big one, because could have been a base hit to score a run. Drew thought so as he took off too soon.
And that one is sliced right over top of the Yankees dugout. When it's time for a change, think Speedy Oil Change and Tune-Up, your oil change tune-up and smog experts. It's the lefty Justin Wilson, 39th appearance.
Another good arm out of the bullpen. Good fastball.
It's one of the Yankees' strong points of their club is their bullpen, with Miller, who will be coming back from the disabled list probably tomorrow. Betances, maybe the best right-left combination in the American League. Fernando Rodriguez gets up.
And for Joe Girardi, is Sonny Gray probably finished after 7, which right now tied. He's got a chance to win, no chance to lose if he does exit after the 7, which he probably will. But it
foul back
in the game that Eovaldi pitched, and the Yankees beat the A's in Oakland 5-3. It was this part of the bullpen. And Shreve came in. Warren, of course, was the starting pitcher then, but Wilson pitched, and then Betances. And then at the time Miller was healthy. So they shut down the A's after the Yankees took the lead on the Beltran 2-run home run.
And a fastball up and away at 95 miles an hour. Burns chases it. So that's 8 strikeouts for Yankee pitchers tonight.
It's kind of what you're supposed to do with a good fastball. Just
use it.
Air it out.
And 1 out for Stephen Vogt. First pitch to Vogt, lefty on lefty, and a good swing. Fouls it straight back. Vogt is 2 for 3, 2 singles, RBI, and a run scored tonight. So you know what would be kind of cool for Stephen Vogt if this week he could somehow get that average up to 300.
Exactly.
That would look good on Tuesday night when it shows up on the TV screen. That good fastball.
And you can't tell me players don't think about that, because there are those who were not selected want to have a good last week to show that he hasn't made a mistake. But we always have to remember that you have to take at least one player from every team. And for Brock Holt, it's hard to believe that the Boston Red Sox have one.
And that one just outside. I'll forget my brother Dwayne's first year in the minor leagues. He was sitting 300, and the manager sat him out the last day of the season, and he wanted to play, and the manager said, that's going to look a lot better at the end of the year than hitting 298.
That's right.
Lou Klimchak was his manager. Remember Lou Klimchak?
My roommate, best man at my wedding.
There you go.
That's right.
In the air toward Chris Young, and that's the second out. So we got in-depth sports news for the Bay Area fan. Know it all with Sportsnet Central. It's brought to you by Hyundai. It's tonight at 10:30 on our sister station, Comcast Sportsnet Bay Area. We'll have all the highlights from this game here in Yankee Stadium. David Lee is a Boston Celtic. We'll have complete analysis of that. And Oakland Mayor Lip Chaff is in the studio. That should be interesting. Look forward to that. Ahmed Freed and David Feldman will host. Comcast Sportsnet Bay Area is where to find it. The All-Star Betances warming up. Ben Zobrist is 0 for 3. The last hit for the A's was Butler's home run in the 6th. And another strike, 97 miles an hour. So quickly 0-2. The crowd starting to get into it a little bit here in the top of the 8th inning of a 3-3 game.
Well, 3 earned runs for Sonny Gray in 7 innings. His ERA is not going to do too much. That's why he's got the 2.09. So the Yankees, because of his inactivity since the 25th of June, able to take advantage of a couple of walks. They scored. But quite a performance by Sonny, considering he did start slowly, picked it up very well.
To Zobrist. Ground ball hit hard, but right to Gregorius. Side retired. Justin Wilson has a 3-up, 3-down inning. Bottom of the 8th coming up. It'll be Rodriguez, Teixeira, and McCann tied at 3. Toyota dealers. It's a 3-3 game, 3-7-1 for the A's, 3-6-0 for the Yankees. As Sonny Gray goes 7 innings, couple of hits for Vogt. And Yankees RBI hits from McCann, Jones, and Gregorius. So good ball game tonight. Both teams with an off day yesterday, and both teams trying to finish strong before the All-Star break. A's will finish in Cleveland, and Yankees will be in Boston this weekend for a series against the Red Sox. When it's time for a change, think Speedy Oil Change and Tune-Up. Your oil change, tune-up, and smog experts. Fernando Rodriguez comes in, and he's coming off really one of the best performances of the year for him. It was on Sunday. Ray, 2 1/3 innings. He threw 34 pitches, but he struck out 4, no hits, no runs, and
yeah, he
maybe
was
the best he looked all year.
Yeah, absolutely. And good fastball, good curveball.
So he will face the heart of the order, Rodriguez, Teixeira, and McCann here in the bottom of the 8th inning.
You know, they always say about you pitch to the front of the uniform, not the name on the back. Well, the Yankees don't have their names on the back, so you don't have to worry about it. Just
I don't even know who this guy is.
oh, but that cutter. That's a great first pitch. So Rodriguez to Rodriguez.
That one a little more hittable, fouled straight back. So Alex Rodriguez, 43 career home runs against the Athletics. He and Palmeiro on top. And then slide down a little bit, you got Mark Teixeira. He's got 36 against the Athletics. Of course, both those players at one time were in the same division as the Athletics.
There's only one guy who has a chance to catch Alex Rodriguez, and that's him. The only two active on that list. And that's 89 home runs between the two of them. 79.
1-2 pitch, and did he go around? Yes, he did, but the ball goes back to the screen, and Alex Rodriguez is going to be at first. So tough break there for the A's. Rodriguez chased a ball that was in the dirt, and it scooted away from Vogt, and it rolled all the way back to the screen.
And nothing could do. A hard curveball got him to commit, and the ball just off the side of the mitt. And a one-batter appearance. They're going to turn. It looks like turn Teixeira around to bat right-handed. So Alex Rodriguez busting it down the line, and that is too bad because that was a great pitch.
So pitching change with Teixeira coming up. We'll be back.
Tonight, game A's players, coaches, local celebrities, and more will serve fans root beer floats for $3 each. Proceeds benefit JDRF, adding to the more than $400,000 the event has raised throughout the year. Sugar-free floats will be available. Special thanks to Dryers Ice Cream, Whole Foods Market, and Zevia, the zero-calorie soda for product donations. Admission is free with a game ticket. That is Zevia.
Got it. Got it.
Drew Pomerantz, like Fernando Rodriguez, throws hard. And Drew can hold nothing back, and he's been doing exactly that, throwing hard. A strange line for Fernando Rodriguez. One batter, no hits, no walks, strikeout.
Didn't get anybody out, but got a strikeout.
You're right. That's one of those rare lines that you see.
So here's Teixeira. The breakdown for Teixeira: as a right-handed hitter, 228. As a left-handed hitter, 250. So a little bit of difference. Short lead for Rodriguez at first, and Teixeira swings and misses. He was late.
Yeah, just trying to take away the short right field porch, and 14 from the left side. But he is a definite pull hitter, but also a lot of power from the right side to go to right field.
McCann, a left-handed hitter, is in the on-deck circle. Because you could not have a bigger hole on the right side of the diamond. I'm not sure that Teixeira is thinking about that. Pops this one foul.
I always like to think about Mark Teixeira, the year of the game, All-Star game in Detroit, and his home run derby at He didn't even have one home run in the first half on the right side, but that home run derby hit from the right side, started hitting home runs and had a great second half. But he is kind of an open stance from the right side. He does not do that as much from the left side. Get it in.
Up the middle, Simeon has it, takes a nice hop for him, and that's a double play. So just like that, 2 outs.
Did it go off Pomerantz's glove? See if it slows it down, because it looked like it was hit a little bit harder than what it seemed like. Just ticked it enough, deflected it over to Simeon, and a perfect 6-3 double play. So that twice tonight. Yep, just ticked it enough. Great job by Drew Pomerantz that it just hit off the end of his glove and to Simeon, and not deflected to where both runners could advance or both runners be on base.
So 2 outs now. Here's Brian McCann, who takes a breaking ball for a ball inside.
So Fernando's off the hook. So 1 batter, 1 strikeout. No outs, but good double play by the A's.
McCann hits one high in the air to center. And Burns into left center, grabs it, side retired. So we have played 8 innings from Yankee Stadium, and it's all tied at 3. Log on to CSNCalifornia.com as our A's insider Joe Stiglitz provides wire-to-wire reporting of the A's 2015 season with breaking news, video, special features, and more only on CSNCalifornia.com. You know what? Tina Fey probably checks to see what Joe's writing on CSNCalifornia.com. Yeah.
Sitting right there between them.
Sit next to the stars. Tina Fey has hung in there the entire game. She's got a good seat, too. And now the All-Star, Dellin Betances. He was an All-Star last year. He's an All-Star this year. He's got 68 strikeouts in 42 innings. He's pretty good.
He throws hard. Really, he doesn't really fool anybody. He only throws 2 pitches, fastball and a curveball. Fastball 99.
He's only 6'8". He's tough. So one of the advantages you do have, tie game, 9th inning, home team, you can bring your closer in the top of the 9th inning. Sort of guarantees you that you use your closer in a tight game. That one's hit toward left center, but it hangs up for Chris Young, who gets over there. Off the bat, maybe they have a chance to get down. So Reddick is retired on 1 pitch.
We just hope that if Betances, the closer, comes in, he's only going to pitch 1 inning, and if your pitcher, the A's pitcher, can shut down the Yankees in the 9th inning, then you start thinking about the rest of the bullpen. Although Joe Girardi has used 4 Sixth inning, this is what Billy Butler did. First pitch fastball from Shreve and tied the game at 3, and that's where it stands right now.
So Butler, the home run, giving him 7 on the year. He's also grounded out twice, once to third and once to short. Fastball inside at 95 miles an hour. So you see the velocity, but his best pitch is the slider.
Yeah.
And that's where he gets a lot of his strikeouts.
Yeah, you're right, because hitters gear up for his 99-mile-an-hour fastball and they swing at a pitch out of the strike zone. Like that.
That was it. It's just such a sharp breaking slider. It's just hard to lay off.
And this is a Francisco Rodriguez, very similar, because you're geared fastball, and if you just really don't swing the bat, you have a chance to walk, because he will not throw a breaking ball. It's going to be a strike, at least a strike conventional called.
So strikeout leaders among relief pitchers. Betances ahead of Chapman. Cody Allen may see him this weekend from the Indians. Robertson, the closer for the Yankees last year. Not close, 3-2.
Well, they could afford to let Robertson go with this guy and Miller. Miller signed a multi-year deal. Maybe Ike Davis can get one of his fastballs. Ike hit in Minneapolis for a big home run to right center, way deep.
Slider on the inside corner, strike 3 call. And Butler doesn't agree with James Hoy. Bob Melvin wants to make sure Butler stays in the game.
Well, a front door breaking ball, if you see the spin, you think it's going to break outside, and it stayed inside. And according to what Butler saw, he did not think it was a strike. Maybe going around the plate. The way McCann caught it.
So here's Ike Davis. Slider for a strike. Ike Davis 0 for 2 with a walk. A couple of ground outs. So he went out there again, missed this time.
And he hasn't called that pitch all night. Not a good time to start if you haven't done it all night.
Threw it again, 2-1. So 3 straight sliders to Ike Davis. Davis with 3 home runs on the year.
Another one. Staying with it.
And that one does catch the outside corner. So all 4 same pitch and attempting the same location. Away. And Clippard out in the A's bullpen getting ready.
Probably only if the A's take the lead. Guess what? He shook off a slider. He's got to throw a fastball.
And here it is. And it's rolled just foul. That one, you could see it even cut a little bit.
You know, and I think if a pitcher throws 2 pitches and you shake off and you're a hitter, you see the shake. You figure he's going to shake to something other than the pitch that he's thrown 4 consecutively, and that would be shake off the slider to get the fastball. Shake it off again and throw the fastball.
And he missed badly up and away.
Guess what he's going to throw now? I'd say if McCann puts the 3 down, it would be another slider. And no shaking off to go to the fastball this time. Brett Laurie hoping to hit again in this at bat.
And he got him with a fastball right on the outside corner at 97 miles an hour. So Betances strikes out a pair. Bottom of the ninth coming up. We're tied at 3.
Free award-winning game. Millions are playing. Download MLB.com Home Run Derby free on the App Store and Google Play. This guy's going to hit some home runs. Let's see. Gehrig, Ruth, DiMaggio. That's 3 pretty good.
Not bad. Fossey.
No. That's why those 3 numbers never been worn. Let's see. Gehrig hit 4th, Ruth 3rd, DiMaggio 5th.
Here you go.
And Pomerantz facing Jones. It's a big inning for the A's. Obviously the 9th inning to get back in the dugout for the 10th.
Breaking ball snaps in there for a strike to Garrett Jones. Jones is 2 for 3. RBI single in the 1st and a single in the 4th and a line out in the 6th. So hit some balls hard and he's got lots of power. Nice big hop for Ike Davis. And that's out number 1 here in the bottom of the 9th inning. And that'll bring up Chris Young.
You know what's been strange tonight, Kay? Just thinking here, Paul Olden, the PA announcer.
Yeah.
We don't hear the late Bob Shepard because Derek Jeter retired. And Bob Shepard would always announce Derek Jeter hitting as long as Derek Jeter played. And of course, Bob Shepard, late Bob Shepard, great PA announcer since 1951. But when Derek Jeter respected him so much, he kept his name. Kept him always announcing. And now Paul Olden, I wonder if he got a bonus because he gets announced the whole game now. Yeah. That's a good way to come back. Back-to-back curveballs, and we have talked about a pitcher throws a curveball and he misses. Does he come back with a fastball where a hitter looks for it? And nope. Pomerantz came back with a good curveball.
1-1 to Chris Young. Got to be careful here. Chris Young against lefties this year, Ray, 360 with 5 home runs and 75 at bats. Be careful. Now it's 3-1. On deck is the left-handed hitting Gregorius. After that, Stephen Drew. So the bottom half of the Yankees lineup. Strike on the inside corner.
See how he finished that fastball inside? I mean, that is a great pitch to go inside corner. Look at, boom, he lets it go right there. That's a perfectly thrown fastball. And he does that so often against the right hitters when he lets it go. Try it again there, or the curveball. And the fastball. And game recently at the Coliseum when he faced 4 batters, 2 lefties, 2 righties. He struck out the righties, walked the lefties. Maybe Mujica, in case they would pinch it for Gregorius, maybe at least the righty would be ready. Still watching.
Three-two, broken bat, little pop-up, and Simeon will have it.
Did not take a chance of going back and breaking ball, stayed hard inside, and that was a great pitch, and perhaps fooling Chris Young, but stayed with the fastball. But Drew Pomeranz, what he has done since going to the bullpen, he knows he can go in, air it out, throw hard, not worry about anything other than throwing as hard as he can.
So with 2 outs, here's Gregorius, who has an RBI hit tonight. He's 1 for 3. He's got 4 home runs on the year. And he got a breaking ball and slices it foul toward the A's dugout. Yankees have just 1 hit since the 5th inning. Sogard scoops it up, and Pomeranz has a 3-up, 3-down bottom of the 9th inning. Extra innings from Yankee Stadium. We're all tied at 3. Innings, and we got Sportsnet Central coming up tonight. It's coming up at 10:30 over on our sister station, Comcast Sportsnet Bay Area. We'll have all the highlights from this, what is now an extra inning game from Yankee Stadium. Talk about the David Lee trade to the Celtics, and the mayor of Oakland is in studio. That's all coming up tonight on Sportsnet Central at 10:30 on Comcast Sportsnet Bay Area. So the A's have not won an extra inning game this year. We'd like to see that change tonight. They're 0-6. Yankees are 2-4. Always a challenge winning an extra inning game on the road.
Especially since Betances stays in the game. Thought maybe he had pitched 1 inning and leave, but his pitch count was pretty economical in the 9th inning. So they're running back out, and they get extra innings, and especially at home, you're right. Okay, it's tough to win if you're a visiting team, but from the Yankees standpoint, they want to try to win because maybe they'd sacrifice their closer for a night. They do have a lefty warming up, and they think maybe Miller might be back tomorrow night, so they could let Betances sit if that's the case tomorrow.
That one is belted down the left field line, and it is gone.
A hanger.
Brett Lowry right down the left field line, and the A's take a 4-3 lead.
Yeah, if you remember in Oakland when Brett Lowry hit a couple of home runs on off-speed pitches against the lefties. This was a hanging breaking ball from the hard-throwing right-hander. And Brett Lowry, He's not pumped, is he? That's a big one.
So home run number 8 for Laurie, and it gives the A's the lead here in the 10th inning. Sogard goes after the first pitch, and Chris Young has it.
And one thing you had to worry about, would it hook foul, because it was a hanging breaking ball and stayed in the inner half of the plate, and you get 0-2, you want to throw it outside. That's where McCain set up, but he left it in, and you could hear somebody angrily said something that can't be repeated, but they were hoping it would stay fair. It did, and a solo home run, top of the 10th on an 0-2 hanging slider.
First pitch to Simeon is a fastball right there, first strike.
Well, just barely, just around the pole, the foul pole, plenty of distance, and Tanza could not believe it. That has to be rare.
Second home run is allowed.
Laurie struck out 3 times in this night.
How about that? He gave a home run up to Souza on Saturday. And Laurie tonight.
Well, you said it best about Eovaldi, and such a good fastball. He'd throw upper 90s as Clippard again gets loose. This time he will be coming in the bottom of the 10th. But Clip was up, did not come in. But Eovaldi, a great fastball like Matanzas, and would not use it a lot. He kept throwing breaking balls, and when you get beat, or at least you have a hitter, whether it's a game winner, we shall see, but when a pitcher throws his second, third, fourth pitch and you're throwing 99 miles per hour and you hang it, that's when you usually get beat.
Strike 3 call to Simeon. So 2 outs here in the 10th inning. A's have taken the lead.
But it was another breaking ball this much better, and Girardi's going to go to his bullpen, bring the lefty in. At least it looks like lefty's been warming up.
So lefty coming in, it's Capuano, and the A's have taken the lead on the Laurie home run. Four to 3 here in the 10th inning. Make sure you join us tomorrow when the A's continue this 3-game set in the Bronx. It'll be Scott Kazmir and CC Sabathia, a couple of veteran left-handers. Our coverage begins at 3:30 with A's pregame live. Complete A's coverage every night on Sportsnet Central and CSNCalifornia.com. The home of A's baseball is Comcast Sportsnet. So Scott Kazmir tomorrow. Right now, it's Chris Capuano, the lefty, who comes in.
I think he was a starter in Oakland in the bullpen now. We've seen a couple of starters for the Yankees who were put to the bullpen with Nova and Tanaka coming back. But for some reason, Joe Girardi wanted to bring the lefty in to face and turn Billy Burns around, hit right-handed.
Burns tonight is 1 for 4. Swing and a miss on a fastball. Burns, his lone hit, a single in the 3rd inning. He's also lined out, fouled out, and struck out. A little pop up to the second baseman. Drew is there. He's got it. Side retired, but Brett Lawrie off one of the toughest right-handers in all of baseball. Dylan Betances, a home run down the left field line. So Laurie's home run gives the A's the lead as we go to the bottom of the 10th. It's the A's 4 and the Yankees 3. First extra inning win of the year. Lawrie with the solo home run. And now Clippard can try to get the final 3 outs. So a good challenge save opportunity for Clippard. He's 15 for 17 in save opportunities this year. Overall 1-3 with a 2.60 ERA. Last pitched on Saturday, got the save through an inning. Sam Fuld in the game in left. Zobrist is out. And it'll be Drew, Gardner, and Headley. If anybody were to get on, Alex Rodriguez would hit. So Clippard's been throwing the ball extremely well for a while now as he faces Stephen Drew. First pitch is outside. Great job by Drew Pomeranz. He's got a chance to get a win. He went 2 innings. Got a big double play ball in the 8th. 3 up, 3 in the 9th. Change up floats to the outside corner, and Stephen Drew thought it was a ball.
That's the first time that's been called tonight, Ken.
And that one was close.
And you think about this all night. And man, maybe the fact that it floated to the catcher's mitt after it crossed the plate.
This one's popped up into the seats. Indians still leading the Astros 2-0, bottom of the 8th inning in Cleveland.
I think James Holt was asking Stephen Holt, was that a strike that I just called?
Sure. It was right there.
Hey, you know, you've missed them all night, James. I'm glad you finally called that one.
The 1-2 to Stephen Drew. is popped up. Davis coming down the line. Vogt is there as well. It's going to be Vogt who makes the catch right in front of the Yankee dugout.
I'm glad he made the catch, but the ball up that high, that's Ike Davis ball. Yep. I mean, that's so much easier for a first baseman, especially as that was skied. And Stephen Vogt looking for Ike Davis. Davis is there, and he said, I got it, you take it. Okay, I'll take it, get rid of the mask. Unfortunately, with Ike Davis right there. And so Stephen Vogt, maybe Ike said, hey, you're the all-star. Get it, big boy. And he did, fortunately. But that is high, and fortunately, it was caught by Stephen Vogt.
So big first out, and here's Brett Gardner, who is 1 for 4. Laurie in on the grass. What a step, right? Even with the dirt in the grass right now. Gardner can bunt, but he's got good pop. He's got 9 home runs. So he is a tough out.
Stephen Vogt was reminding the right side of the infield about the possibility of dragging the ball for a bunt, but I think you're correct because the way he's swinging the bat, and that's why he is one of the 5 to be selected by the fans for the final All-Star spot, promoted heavily by the Yankees here in their Jumbotron.
2-0. Gardner takes a good rip at a high fastball, and
he's trying to tie it.
He was, and he may have got a pitch to do it. Just out in front a little bit. So 2-1 with Headley in the on-deck circle. Headley a switch hitter. And that one up as well, but this one was a changeup, fouled straight back. 2-2 the count. So 2-2.
Change up to the curveball.
That one way high, missed badly. So 3-2.
So, you know, the thing about Clippard, and that pitch 2-2, missed a curveball, you'd think as a hitter, he's going to be throwing a fastball. But the only equalizer is a changeup that looks just like the fastball. And that's the difference in Clippard and perhaps other pitchers who don't have as good a changeup. If he wiggles, changeup. See if he goes to it or the fastball. It's going to fastball.
And it just missed.
I don't know where. He overthrew it, and Stephen Vogt with his back to James Hoyle is saying, and I don't know that this is a ball. Stephen Vogt is there, and he's on the inside corner. He is the home plate umpire. And the fact that Stephen had to move should not have a bearing on the pitch, whether it's a strike or not. I think it looked like Gardner was standing there thinking, I better not go too quickly.
So 1 out. Gardner a base stealing threat. Headley steps in. Alex Rodriguez in the on deck circle. That one way high. One for 10 versus Clippard in his career. Squaring off in their days in the National League. Gardner has 15 stolen bases. That one a fastball for a strike. Inside corner. Very good ball game tonight here in New York. Laurie with the solo home run in the top of the 10th inning to give the A's the lead. Good swing by Headley, fouled it straight back. He got his pitch to hit there, and he just missed it.
Okay, we're looking at a situation again with Sogard playing so much over. And look at the left side of the infield. Does that mean Semien on a ground ball to Laurie? Semien has to be the one covering again because of the kind of a semi-shift. Sogard so far from second, he would not be able to get to second if the ball is hit to Laurie. They expect him to pull the ball on the ground.
And that changeup floats outside. Looks like Clippard maybe not real sharp with that changeup today.
He's got to keep throwing it, though.
Yep.
Stephen Vogt looking in the dugout for a possible sick off the changeup, fastball away to go on a fastball in. Or to throw over.
And this one is popped up right near the mound. Vogt and Clippard come together, and Vogt will have it, and that's the second out.
And that is a great location and a perfectly thrown fastball. And so many times you see left-handed hitters at Yankee Stadium, they want to extend the arms, yet Clippard goes inside, pops him up, and we have seen that. Same thing happened to Chris Young with a fastball in. Stephen Vogt, and Clippard was getting ready to make the play, but Vogt calls him off to make it. And this is where you have to be concerned about the opposite field power of Alex Rodriguez. Remember his 3,000th hit, a home run into the right field seats. So Clippard, after the one-out walk, trying to get through the toughest part of the Yankees lineup. Ideally, you want to stay away, but I don't know here at Yankee Stadium if that's such a great idea.
First pitch is in the dirt, blocked nicely by Vogt.
That's a big one. That keeps a runner at first, not in scoring position. And remember, Fernando Rodriguez threw a biting curveball in the dirt that Alex Rodriguez swung out for strike 3, but advanced to first. This time, Stephen Vogt, a great block.
Outfield very deep. Gardner, terrific speed at first. It's been Gray, Rodriguez, Pomeranz, and Clippard. Missed again, 2-0. Teixeira waiting in the on-deck circle.
Curveball changeup. No signs of for Stephen Vogt and the pitcher and the runner at first. Not signs for Alex Rodriguez.
Swing and a miss on the 2-0 changeup. Stayed on the outside corner, and Rodriguez missed it.
And again, that's the equalizer. Whenever a hitter is looking fastballs, Alex was right there and got the changeup, pulled the string. It was a strike regardless, but the swing and a miss like that is an excellent pitch, which, to your point, Cap, the changeup maybe not effective. That one was very effective. And maybe that's enough for the remainder of this at bat to be something in the back of his mind. Fastball away after shaking the changeup after a good changeup.
And he laid off. That's the scary pitch right there.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's 3-1.
Well, the high fastball overthrew it just a little bit, but if it's down a little bit, belt high, it's a strike, but also a dangerous pitch for a right-handed power hitter. Changeup. See if Alex is looking for it. Got it on 2-0. Gets it again 3-1. Yep.
And a pretty good take. And now first and second, 2 outs for Teixeira.
Well, this is one guy you didn't want to have come up, and especially batting now from the right side. He hit a double play into a double play. His last at bat.
We're going to get a pinch runner.
And Bob Melvin is telling them, even with Teixeira and Brett Lawrie playing the shift, Bob Melvin was reminded what about or watch for a possible stolen base attempt.
Jose Perella is the pinch runner. So here is Teixeira. First pitch inside, almost hit him.
Almost walked into it. But Teixeira has that stance in which he closes up, watch the front foot, and then turns away. But he actually, by stepping, was stepping into it.
Good take. Drops low. Boy, they're taking it like they almost are looking for it, know it's coming, and they're not going to go after it. Gardner at second. Perella at first. And again, a changeup on 2-0 that drops low. Brian McCann is the on-deck hitter.
Makes you wonder if he's tipping his pitches.
Well, I mean, these are some good takes. I mean, even Alex Rodriguez with a chance to win the game.
But he's taking it like you said, like you know he's coming, because you don't see guys take pitches like that.
3-0 is right in there. So now 3-1. Teixeira took that one. He will not take again.
That was a surprise that he even took that one. Seeing him at too many home runs on 3-0 pitches. But maybe they're just sitting fastballs and taking anything other than fastball. But the way Teixeira took 3 changeups seemed very odd.
And a half swing foul back. It was a fastball that was a little up.
Well, now's going to be the telltale sign, because he thought he was trying to hold up his swing on ball 4. It was a strike. Looks like he hurt his hand, but now he throws a changeup. He takes this one like he knows it's coming. Then you know something is wrong.
Runners will be going. 3-2, 2 outs. Here it is. Swing and a miss. He struck him out on a changeup.
He didn't know it was coming. Not to swing that way.
So what a finish as the A's get their first extra inning win of the year. And it's on the road.
And a 1-run win cap on top of it, which has always been tough all season for the Athletics. And he took 3 changeups like he knew they were coming, swung it and a half swing on a 3-1, and then a changeup down the middle, swing and a miss, and a huge strikeout to end the game.
So it took 3 hours and 16 minutes. 32,337 saw it. 4-3 final. A's win. You've been watching Oakland A's baseball on Comcast Sportsnet California. Don't go away. A's postgame live with Henry Wolford and Carney Lansford starts right now.